Now we're ready.
Who is that?
So we're ready to begin with the chamber report there, Troy.
All right, and I will get going. Got my update hat on. Also my excited for Oktoberfest hat. Let me start with footfalls. We had a 5.6% increase of footfalls for August in the village, 1.03 versus 1.37. So about 70,000 additional footfalls were counted for August. And this good news was confirmed by Love Leavenworth, who said they had a really fantastic August, even though they had been a little bit pessimistic going into it. For Recreation Ambassadors, we have concluded the season. I'm currently pulling together all of the comments, stats, and information into an end of season report that will be available in the coming weeks. Also working on getting the final reports from all the volunteer coordinators and being able to cut checks and get those out to everybody within the next week or two. So we will be back next season for another Recreation Ambassador and hopefully have another season like this one where we had just about 2 organizations every weekend pulling the weight and getting the information out there at our trailheads and river locations. Oktoberfest, 17 days away. Just so you know, hopefully you all saw that there's Locals Night on September 29th. And if you want to take advantage of that, free admission, go to the Division Street entrance only, because that's where we have people that will be checking for that specifically. Otherwise, they won't know. So go to the Division Street entrance, have your ID, and then, or if your ID doesn't have your address, an ID that with a piece of mail that matches in the Cascade School District. And then if you want to get in free on Saturday, I have a way you can do that. And that is you get in your Trockton and you join us at 11:45 in front of Gustav's and then join the Festzug parade all the way to the Fest Hall and we will give you free entry. So there's your trick on getting in for free. That's anybody who wants to get in Trockton and join us on one of the Saturdays of Oktoberfest. We just had the other night our training and some from the alcohol control board and pictures for the IDs and all of that stuff we did Monday night at the fire station. We have about 75 part-time employees that we have hired in the area, and they are making between $18 and $25 an hour to work at Oktoberfest this year. And it would also be helpful to know that we did increase the amount of Phoenix security that we are contracting this year. And we're having them serve as our alcohol enforcement. They do a much better job. And so we'll have a lot more security for this year. And then finally, I just wanted to share that our Carvings for Causes fundraiser wrapped up. And we were able to raise a total of $3,500. That means that the Leavenworth Community Backpack Mission, the Upper Valley Men's Swim Voucher Program, and Cascade Educational Foundation School Supply Program will each be receiving a check for $1,166 from that fundraiser. And that concludes my update. Should you have any questions?
Troy, quick question. What is our limit number of ticket sales? Like, what are we shooting for in terms of attendance for Oktoberfest? That's been a question people have asked.
We sell right now, currently we sell about 2,500 tickets online and then have some available at the door. So our zone is around 3,000.
3,000 people per night or?
Per weekend.
Per weekend, 3,000 people per weekend in the Oktoberfest, or I guess in the venue, but okay. So, but generally,
well, keep in mind that this is a 12-hour from noon to midnight. So you've got 12 hours of people. So, and we're talking Friday and Saturday tickets.
Okay.
Combined.
Great. No, that's the number I wanted to know. And have we achieved the idea of more of a dispersed Oktoberfest? So are the local businesses seeing an uptick in their, in the bars and the restaurants producing? I mean,
they did that
in the compound, and now we're hoping to get all those people in a dispersed fashion. I thought was part of the mind shift, part of the paradigm shift of Oktoberfest. So just curious if we kind of achieved that goal.
Well, we've only done it one time.
Right, no,
And,
one good point.
and yeah, I think we achieved that. We
Okay,
had specials, retail specials, we had shopping specials, having the tent and the events downtown actually wrapped the rest of the heart of town into the festivities with the keg tapping there and all that. So yeah, and I think people are gonna go even bigger this year with their beer gardens and their events that kind of accompany that. Our brochure just finished, and so there's QR codes. Like it's kind of like you can lead a course to water, right? So we have a QR code that goes to a page on the website that has Oktoberfest specials. So if you have special merchandise, if you have a special deal, you're offering a discount, whatever, people can fill that out, and then they will get some eyes on that special. Same thing with other events. That's if there's other events that are taking place in town and people go to the website and fill that event, fill the query on the event form for the website, that information will be shared on the October 1st brochure as well. So we do a really good job of making sure that we're trying to wrap in all the other things that are happening, specials that are going on, and other things that people are doing to celebrate or just make notice of Oktoberfest.
great, thank you. Yeah, you answered my question. I was just looking for that kind of that narrative of Oktoberfest is now all over London. Thank you.
So Troy, what about, I know you're also doing the nonprofit ambassador thing in Oktoberfest, and how's that looking?
Thank you for asking. I was in my update and I skipped right over it for some reason. Marlon Handbell Ringers, Young Life, Faith Lutheran Immigrant Justice League, and the Lions Club have all signed up. Oh, and the Royal Bavarians. So we do have one open slot we're looking to fill, but we have 3 levels of Oktoberfest ambassadors. We have the Trockton Troop, we have the Kinderplatz group, and we have the Brats and Food group. And different levels of payout. I think the Trockton is $1,300 a weekend, and the Brats is $2,700 a weekend for the nonprofits. So we have everything filled, but the middle weekend for the Trockton Troop, which we're just probably going to combine 2 nonprofits together and share the load on that weekend. So we are fully staffed for ambassadors as well.
I know I signed up to be one, so with the Faith Lutheran group.
Oh, great.
That's why I asked how it was billing, because I don't want to be by myself.
Troy, I'll just jump in to say a quick thing to paraphrase what you mentioned as well to help answer your question, Mark. Last year we did solicit feedback from all the restaurants and bars, and the general consensus was we were just as busy because we were already at capacity.
Right.
The old Oktoberfest kept so many people in that venues. We were just as busy throughout the day and made as much money basically, and they appreciated the fact there weren't quite as many people throughout town in the restrooms, too sick or whatever. So general feedback from servers that I had personally, and then just that actually wrote in a comment was that was great.
Yeah, that was actually part of my question is, were we comfortable with that number? Were we gonna bring it up? Were we gonna raise that number or lower the number?
And so we did we have the same exact footprint, but we're adding one more little venue in the back, that tent in the back with music. So we now have fest hall with music, and then a tent with music. And the Kinderplatz is the same footprint. They're moving around some of the where stuff is at, where some of the food is at, some of the vendors are at, but it's the same footprint, but with the tent now in the back instead of just being stored. So we are adding a little more activity up at that venue. It's the same footprint in the park.
Yeah, I'd love to see, Troy, I'd love to see the contrast of this year versus last year in football, because I think that's a metric that we have an accurate assessment.
Just to give you an idea, we did a full, what capacity we could have if everything was full, every venue, and it was over 5,000. But that's not a number we want to get to. That's an uncomfortable number at an event that's packed that you're probably not having a lot of fun at. So our zone is way lower than that. But the extra tent did allow us to add a capacity of about 500 more people being entertained. So being able to be in there dancing comfortably and not being overpacked. So the other thing we have to think about too is process time, especially on Fridays. It would be great. We have more capacity probably than we have time to process people through security. That, if you get my meaning. So you have to be very careful there because you don't want to stand in line for an hour and a half to get into the venue when you got there on time. So gotta pay attention to that as well.
That was helpful for you.
Great. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thanks a lot, Troy.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Troy.
Okay, moving on, we've got the golf course is here. So, wanna go ahead?
Sure. My name's Mike Gordon. I've been on the board for a couple of years. But the real star here is Ivan Gibbs, who's a longtime Lebanon resident, grew up here. And we're gonna save the best part of this briefing for him. Even though I've only been there a couple of years, I get to cover the history and the background. And then we'll get into some other issues, opportunities to help. So hopefully this will be very informative. And hopefully we can get maybe an annual invite back and tell you what's new, what we're doing and everything else and get good feedback from you. So let me start with a little bit of the history. As you can read as well as I can, there's, 1926 started with 3 holes, mostly volunteer labor. Some of you have been in this town a lot longer than I have, but I've read the official history and downloaded some pictures for you just to get everybody level set. In 1930, we were able to build 3 more holes and had a great partnership from birth with the city. It's been collaborative. So this golf course was built with volunteer labor, most of it from people that became eventual golfers and members of the golf course. Next, please. And then there was no clubhouse out there, and so a bunch of the members got together and decided they had enough skill sets, and some of them were contractors, and they got the materials and volunteered the labor and built the clubhouse that you see out there today. Also, the city partnered with us in the mid-60s, because how are we going to water this stuff that we're creating out of the old fairgrounds? The city went out and put a bond out and helped pay for the materials of the irrigation system that the members of the golf course stall put in. And then from the earliest contracts, there was a clause, because we're just trying to get on our feet, that Leavenworth tried to survive in the 60s, and the golf course was trying to build a golf course in the 60s. So it was very historic times of this golf course, especially what it's become, just like what the town has become. This is back in the early days when it was really tough. And so the same people that were trying to build the town and members of the town were, if they were golfers, they were trying to build this at the same time. And so it's a great cooperation just to survive. And as you can see, the city went out and went for a bond to get irrigation equipment. And then the laborers came from the volunteers and the membership to do that. And at that time, they started putting into the language of the contracts that they weren't here to make money off this embryonic golf course. They're going to work and partner and build it up. And so it started off with a very good relationship of helping each other out. And then all the way up through the members bought some of the land. And then, as you can see, in 71, they just deeded the back 9 to the city, and the city owned all of the property. In the spirit of collaboration and cooperation they had. Next chart, please. In 80, the language continued in the 80s of that partnership that the Leavenworth Golf Course is a nonprofit, and they're trying to build offerings for the city locals as well as tourists. And the city's been very, very good to us. In 89, we started bringing in the Leavenworth Winter Sports Club. We worked closely with James Munley and that team. And then more on that from Ivan later. And then when Enchantment Park was first being built, the volunteers from the golf course mowed the yard over there and then brought them onto the golf course's irrigation system to irrigate the new Enchantment Park at that time. And then latest big thing was 94, a new sprinkler system for the back nine. And then I gotta tell you this, I've heard about this before I came, but I know what this nation went through in 2008. And there was recession, and with some less than, I'll call it adequate for the times management. And with the economy hitting pretty hard. And we almost lost a golf course. I'm told by the old timers that there was a meeting with the administrator back then, and the board said, we're gonna have to turn the keys up unless we do something. What ended up happening is they relieved some of the management that wasn't watching money as well. And they levied a fee on all the members. I think back then it was like $250 per person to try to keep it open, and they lost a lot of members as a result. So it was really a make or break time frame for this golf club. And over the past, since 2008-ish, as it's come through, it's been a slow recovery by hard work, barely making profit, not being able to do as much, but it's gotten better, and better. And the real kind of boost, I think, came with COVID. You'd be surprised. It was with COVID. And a lot of golfers out there, COVID, and we got some PP money from the state. And that allowed us to kind of pay off the debts, sustain being into the black. And next chart, please.
What kind of money from the state?
What is that?
Feds.
Employee-
PPP.
Yeah.
Paycheck protection plan.
Yeah, and so when I got here, well, when I got to the golf course about 2 or 3 years ago, there was a Huckleberry restaurant. Okay. And the relationship, I wasn't on the board yet, but I came on the board, was a tenuous relationship. And some of the problems that they previous regime had with them was cleanliness, hygiene, theft. They weren't really energetic out there. And so the membership and the board got together and said, we're not going to renew the contract, which is probably 4 years ago or so. And we're going to fix it up, and the board and the club, the members will run a pub like thing rather than a restaurant. So we got into this business a few short years ago, and you can see some of the mess we inherited, holes in the floor and everything else. And the club, I'll show you this in a few slides, built up the restaurant, went out and hired folks. And we've got a menu for those of you that have been out there, and it's been pretty doggone successful. It's just turned the curve into being in the black. And now we're experimenting with service through the winter, which costs a lot of labor and not as many people. So we're going through those learning stages now to have it. But this year we've learned a lot. We're going to still provide some services out there, probably reduced hours with physical labor. Okay, next chart, please. So we redid that clubhouse completely. If you have it, those of you that were there 4 or 5 years ago would not recognize it now. And it's all volunteer labor from the members. Here's some pictures of members going after it. It is so much better than it used to be for those of you that have been there. Next chart, please. Next slide. Okay. And this is just all the members in there, gutting out the whole thing, floors, ceilings, everything else, and putting in the new renovation. Next.
Before this renovation, we had our mayor's annual breakfast at the facility almost consecutively for the whole 8 years that Mayor Farrar was with us.
Wow. Well, what we ought to do is we ought to invite you out for some social or pizza party or whatever you do. Come on out and see it. Now it's done by volunteers to help elevate the city and its reputation. So this is just working on, we installed a simulator. We got a lot of winter here, so we installed a simulator. We finally could afford it to pay a lease, right? And we have a really nice simulator in there for those of you that want to golf in the winter or want to learn to golf. We have pros around to help you, club fitting, whatever. And so we were able to take it and install. It wasn't there before, if you remember.
Mhm.
So we put it in.
That was where we always met and had our meeting.
Next slide, please. And then we built a new patio outside, and you could play or get in the beautiful weather out there and play cornhole, whatever out there. And that was expanded this year by volunteer labor. This is just over this past year, next. And we did the outside, we repainted everything. So everything is brand painted, even the maintenance facilities where that Ivan leads. But the clubhouse was painted, well houses, and we made it a kind of a really new look, right? And we also put partnered with LWSC, the Leavenworth Winter Sports Club, to put the new snow guards in. So really worried about liability when they start sledding out there, and we didn't have them. And so they're in now because we could finally afford it. Next. And then I wanted to kind of put a lot of these in there. We love to host community events, even if you're having an offsite, whether you want to eat or not, just enjoy the scenery. We've had several community events, St. Patty's Day parties, Sip and Paint. We've had family reunions, Christmas things, and you know, it's open for any private organization or governmental organization. Say, hey, we like your place, and we have a little menu you can pick from to get it right. If you want food, what kind, etc. And then of course, that's just a normal day, say a Saturday or etc. in the new hub, right? Next chart. And so I'm going to get off the stage and I was just here to give you a history and tell you we're just delighted and so proud to represent this city with a lot of volunteer efforts that try to be worthy of this city in terms of bringing tourists and giving an opportunity for golfers to come golf there. And I'm not a golfer, my wife's a golfer, but now I'm a golfer, but it's a great place to learn. We have the lowest member rates in the entire valley. So, and that's down in the Wenatchee Valley. So we're pretty proud of trying to take care of this there. So anyway, over to Ivan, and we'll talk more about how we try to be good stewards of the property that the city owns.
Yeah, focus on community is definitely a big part of it. There's a lot of good in there. You know, rates and being able to support, do business with people that are living here. Really. I mean, a lot of our revenue is from tourist dollars. That's important, but it's so important because this place was built by orchardists and farmers. That to keep it affordable and to let. So anyway, I'm Mike Pierce, Class A superintendent. To advance the slide. So I was born here. I was born in Cascade Medical Center back when they actually delivered babies. Carl taught me to play soccer, and Sharon taught me to swim. So, yeah, my family raised me on an organic farm up in Front Canyon, gives organic farms. So raised on the farm is a big part of who I have my fingers in the soil. Big part of it. I started working for the golf course when I was in high school. Pretty easy for me to realize that this is what I wanted to do. Since I've become an adult, it's kind of my sole focus. I'm a farmer, so a lot of what I learned on the farm, I'm applying to the turf now, trying to bridge the gap between organic agriculture and golf. So that's been kind of my career path. Next, yeah, so I took over in 2005 as the assistant superintendent. 2013 superintendent. So for 19 years, it's created this incredible passion for this piece of property. Just know that I'm doing what I was supposed to do. We'll talk about the riverbank, the riparian zone. The first project I was involved in was in 1999. Since then, we've done 7 different plantings, right green plantings, partnering with the Chelan County Conservation District, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Travel Unlimited. All these sites have come back successfully. That was pretty interesting to see, you know, planting on the riverbank. A couple of times we ran irrigation down there to see if it was necessary. It turns out it's not necessarily necessary. So, if you advance to the next slide, you'll see, this is one of the projects we did with the county. We installed these logs and anchored them there. Some sedge mats here that we installed right at the foot of the river. Next slide, it should show that's what it looked like when we finished, and this is what it looked like just this week. You can see the bank. The idea was that it had fallen off, and so they brought these logs up. But eventually, it would sort of start sloughing down. I'm sure more of you guys, some of you might know more than this than me, but it's worked. It's worked really well. You're creating shade, and the next slide will show another planting we did. We planted all these trees. This was in 2006. We did this one. So you can see all the shade it's creating for the river now. Okay, moving on. So this is what I'm proud of. This is my whole life work. So to speak, just the way that we fertilize historically, it's not necessarily the right way. So I've put a lot of research and time and studying into different methods, different source of nitrogen. Not using petroleum-based products, but going carbon-based products. So for several years now, 6 years in a row, we have like petroleum-based fertilizer on. Certainly not on river woods, but in general property. There was a study done in 2014 by the state, and they studied the river, the water quality, passed flying colors back then. That I didn't.
Well, that was before he did his organic farming, and it was taking just the last full downriver. So it was collecting anything that might have come off the
Yeah,
It was, because that's the last one.
it was good then, and since then we eradicated these fertilizers. There's a lot that goes into it. I've never sprayed any insecticide, any herbicide applications. They're starting soil tests, make some adjustments, finishing soil tests. You got to make sure that the soil is going to sustain turf instead of weeds, where soil has to be ready before you spray it out. You can't just go spraying herbicide. So very, very, very few herbicide applications that I've actually made in the last 19 years. And the ones that I do stick, they work. That's, get the soil ready for it. But we're real fast. So this is the product that I make for divot mix for filling holes where people take a divot and they tee off. And we'll get the whole community involved. Our golfing community, so to speak, our membership comes out and they volunteer their time. And get a bucket and they go drive around and they'll fill all the divots they can find. One of the additions to this mix is worm frass that comes from Beta Hatch down in Kashmir. Yeah, pretty interesting operation.
Yeah.
So I'm using their worm frass, their byproduct. It's working great.
I would give golfers as they're playing, help for the.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, some of the turf.
Yeah, we supply it with, when they rent a cart, they have a bottle.
Yeah.
It's shaken, yeah. Community involvement, other things we do, we're very big with the high school golf team. Making sure that the kids have what they need, donating sort of scholarships.
Yeah, we did free lessons, coach and coach. By itself, collect golf ball down.
That's a good question. You did buy back softball. I know kids who snorkel the river and have like 5 gallons of it.
I don't know, we don't.
If they could find a golfer willing to buy that. Of course.
I don't know, we need to talk to,
Well, because they do originate from the court. So honestly, I'm not complaining. I think Grant's done a great job. But you know, the balls would come from the golf, like plastic. But, well, it'd be great if we could block it with. It will buy them back. I see it. So all of them, but they originate from the golf course.
We, knew this was, when we went, you know, my wife and I went out to the water school at this. And we collected, I think it was 13 rock bottles with 17 dirt cans. All on property. So, we got computers are teaching themselves, yeah, and, so it's a dual pump, right? When the water's low enough, some of the members volunteer to go out there. You know, go. But we don't bring them on bigger cans in. So we'll work on it together. Stay before part of the team that responsible for tell us to come out. It's a distraction.
Imagine that's a pretty big topic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. And a lot of different players, as you know, that are involved, but gonna make progress.
Yeah, the sheriff's Swiftwater team. This year we went through and we picked up about 7 pounds. Buried it in the grave, we have like that, it's just fun. The minority of golf us because they have gym. That way. It'd be great to see, hey, you said your community involved, I appreciate it. So. It's to offer a program, but it would need to take a budget.
I have to go, but I can share a quick 5-second story. The best year of my life was 7th grade summer. My buddies and I, we kick golf balls all morning. Do the river, turn it into the golf road, you pay 25 cents, you have to sell 50, you make enough money to buy a hot dog, and and then it was too hot. No one's on the course, you let us go up.
Oh.
We did that like almost every day, so it was good.
Yeah. Those were the good old days.
Great, thank you. Operation. That's the kind of thing we're looking.
Next slide. So another thing that I like to do is utilize the trees that come off the course. I take them away at the sawmill. We can turn that into lumber that we can use for projects such as these owl boxes that we put out. Just another one of those elements. I don't know if I have any more. Is there one more? Oh yeah, sports club. Yeah. We're a sports club, the wintertime operations and what they do. It's a good partnership and it's recreation all year round. And yeah, it's sledding, tubing, snowshoeing. Skiing.
How long have you guys been doing when you started doing the hill for the sledding? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while with
I want to say maybe 7 or 8
about 7
years.
years.
Yeah. So I would assume that helps with the public, the club, having the winter operations and.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, there's a learning curve that we're kind of experiencing with their customer, our customer clientele, you know, the basic. Yeah, it helps, but we're in the middle of figuring it all out, so.
Yeah, we're working with those, we're struggling, but it's not right, because the trend is going into the, just put in brand carpet and then, you know, all that stuff, and then how do we find the right balance between, so it's a win-win, right? But we're especially worried about liability with those ice things, hanging on the beach, the roof line, so, but we meet with them all the time, and the fact we're working on it. So that would be going so yeah, no, good cooperation. With it.
You guys have great food.
Good.
I've been out there a few times.
Is there one more?
It's beautiful.
Just being dedicated to what I do. It's the only thing I've ever done since I become an adult. I'm just absolutely passionate about it. I love it. I love the game of golf. I think this might sound really silly, but I love watch a ball bounce on turf. Know what it's gonna do, and know that it's not gonna plug, and know that it's, and then roll out just so. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, it's kind of cheap.
Yeah, let's say that.
I gotta speak up for Ryan. You look at a couple of bullets down there, and little marsh like this and little town. He's selected to be a board member on the Northwest Circus. He's so one of the big leaguers out there. He's building a great reputation. In fact, we get a lot of comments and emails on people that golf there. The course is unbelievable all the way through the season, unlike any other course in this area. So I gotta hand it to him. He's doing a really good job and building a great reputation for himself amongst that sort of community.
Yeah, we have a lot of good things going for us, starting with the scenery in the surrounding area.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, you can't beat it. And then when we compare wonderful conditions, it brings golfers in from all over the Northwest, really. And yeah, we are getting a good reputation.
Water come from the city or is it well?
It's well, it's near, right next to the city water.
Oh,
That are down there in that area.
no, that's great. And you're not really feeding.
No, pumping it out, we hold it in the pond and then we pump it from the pond.
So there's no fluoridation, nothing else. Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great use of water. Do we have a draw, a regional draw?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
One thing,
Increasingly so.
I've never noticed any real advertise, I don't know if the chamber advertises or not, but I didn't know that.
They do advertise. I actually asked that question last week.
Yeah,
I've golfed there a couple times and had a great time, but I don't.
and as our administration has changed over and the pros and things of that nature over the years, the marketing techniques have changed. And I think currently it's sort of about, well, Leavenworth is really good at getting people here. So let's let people know that we're here. It's something to do.
one of the things we're working on with the chamber is back out of town, where they come from, how long it stays.
Yeah.
Feed that information to the chamber.
We're gonna get better.
We do have a link on the chamber's website, both with the pub and the restaurant, and golf course. So, we have those sites, so we're improving and getting more and more. That's very comfortable for us. Frankly, we have a $2 to $3 million irrigation bill. That's where I said that irrigation system built in '65. I think we still got 71 for the back nine. So his team is out there maintaining that old system for a while. We're gonna have to pay to make this sooner or later. So we need those tourists to come in so we can get into a point where we can.
We know all about deteriorating infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Majority of revenue comes from tourism.
yes. Majority of the revenue, and even though we charge not as steep fees, good. Majority is from.
And is there a local this time? I haven't.
The locals pay a. Oh, you mean the non-member discount?
You mean like if you were to go,
Resident.
you just get a really good deal on the membership.
Okay, what, I never really. I still doing the fun part.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, we hope you all come out, look at the feedback. And that we have the city become province. Because of services we offer,
My problem is when I golf, I just take all the side detours into all the brush.
Yeah.
I like to see the trees. I'm not a wide open space person.
So you wanted the donators to the river.
Thank you for your time. That's pretty well.
I thought I hit a few balls in the river.
Comments,
Sure.
with your beer cans and things like that. Have you thought about talking to Ariana at Recycle, and maybe there's something that she can help you out with that? And the other thing is, my son Nick used to go all the time there, and he got his golf clubs and everything by turning in golf balls. And because he was always there and bringing them in, the guys felt, kinship to him.
Yeah.
And gave him golf clubs, and the cart used to tie it on the back of his bicycle and off you go.
Okay, that's great.
I'm interested in the recycle. Is that an option?
I would think that if you talk to Ariana.
For commercial.
Yeah.
camping.
Mariana Jones, yeah, I've been talking to her. We're trying to get the waste loop
Yeah.
people in there and work a partnership with
She can look at the restaurant.
up at the Rayton.
I was there, that was.
To do that,
Yeah.
to
Food
take
waste.
the pine needles that we have, drive them out there to get to work in. We gotta work that, but we're working with our restaurant now, so we can get a setup over there. We got some bears on the property, so we gotta make sure we can secure whatever waste we put out there.
And last month I ate inside with the Royal Lady at the Royal Lady luncheon.
Okay.
And Friday night, some relatives and we ate on the outside. And I think her name is Pam, right, Pam? Excellent waitress.
Oh, great.
Really top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ivan?
No, that's awesome.
And I appreciate the stewardship of the chemical.
Yeah, no kidding.
Grass really has a huge impact. So I always think about it when I'm swimming in the river. Traditionally from not from the East Coast, you know, golf course, there are things before. Obviously, we're doing a great job. Already tested on it, and your best practices. The fact that your heart's in it and Grant gave you that, I mean, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the feedback we get. We got some good ideas out coming at it here and we give you an update in a year, that'd be great.
Well, we'll be seeing you before then because we have to renew, we have to come up with a new contract. So in your packet is their overture to us to start negotiating a new contract.
Yeah.
The contract itself is good through at least 28, but the fees expired June of 24.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's some other things we need to amend right now. The contract does not, or the lease does not allow sledding. It specifically prohibits sledding, so we want to make sure that that's allowed if Leavenworth Motor Sports Club is going to be offering that as an
Do
option.
you have a copy of the one that was drafted by the city?
I found that and I've added some of the things that I talked to you and Simon about that I would like to see added. And yes, I will. Our attorney is looking it over right now.
Okay, good, good. Well, we look forward to those negotiations.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the
Thank you.
We do have some funding in our budget. We fund 5,000 a year currently for their advertising out of lodging tax that they get directly. And then we also currently have $100,000 in the lodging tax fund, I believe, for capital improvements for them to match. So I'm sure Sylvia will be working with them to figure out how to spend that wisely.
What was that last part, Chantel?
We have 100,000 in the lodging tax fund for them for capital improvements.
Oh, really?
It's intended to be matched by them, so we can leverage those.
Is it still gonna go to
The park, yeah, they would like to do some paving of their parking lot. My first day on the job, August 1st of last year, I had 2 emails from Mike Warden within the first 30 minutes of me being here. And one of them was about the
I
parking
kicked
lot.
that bucket. The mayor and I were going, he's coming.
He's coming, so.
Yeah.
When you start getting into the negotiation. Let me know because things are something to do.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
know, we know
Yeah.
that there's more history. They're why.
Because they weren't charging enough, most likely.
Oh, no. They didn't like the rent. They didn't like the city, so it went to arbitration. They said, we want to go to arbitration. The judge said,
You're not paying enough.
he said, you're not paying it.
Yeah.
It went from $25,000 to $58,000. You're not there.
Yeah.
They didn't have it in their budget. So they said, well, screw it, here's the key.
Interesting. Well, one thing I've discussed with them is like Leavenworth Motor Sports Club has arrangements with US Forest Service and US Fish and Wildlife. And where they their lease arrangement is a percentage of their revenue every year. So that's the arrangement that I had with Leavenworth Motor Sports Club for the golf course. They've been getting a free ride and basically just using the golf course's lease. So this year I charged them and then applied that lease. I charged whatever revenue. It was only $4,000 or $5,000 from the sports club, but credited the golf course's lease payment in that amount. So what I'd like to talk with them about is what a percentage would make sense, where it would be close to what our lease arrangement is today. But if they have a bad year, they don't have to come up with the money, you know, if their revenues are down, then our revenues are down. And I think that might be another way for us to solidify the partnership.
Well, they actually have the assessment. They lost 100 members on it.
Mhm.
Wow.
And they've never got.
But did you get any funding from the chamber? Did I miss that?
They have.
They get some advertising, but not funding.
They,
They get $5,000 of our lodging tax though.
They probably pay for ads, like in the, so, well, the old Sony Shine, you don't know what that is, but.
One last
Oh,
question.
yeah.
So what remains to work out with golf course? So it's kind of a lease contract.
It's, yeah, we need to look at the lease. It's an old lease document. It needs some cleaning up. Some things that I'm going to be asking for is for them to implement a composting program. I'd like to see all the grass clippings taken to Witten versus laid on, right now, they just pile them along the riverbank. So there's some really large piles and some smaller piles. So I'd like to see that. They already do the organic along the river holes. I'd like to codify that in the lease. It's not currently, it's encouraged, but not required.
Sure.
I'd like to. Can't remember the other provisions that I put in there, but yeah, I've been thinking about it. What's that? Clarify maintenance. Yeah.
Yeah, who's responsible for what?
I feel like kind of fuzzy. I'd like to see a golf ball buyback program, like we heard it, what's going on way back when. It'd be nice to see that in writing, because they do end up in the river, and I'd also like to see if you have a Leavenworth address or local address, it'd be great to get a list.
The other thing we've talked to them about is using some of their parking space down below. It doesn't all get filled, is using some of that for our river.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna kick your rafters on.
Now they know, that,
They already are familiar with them.
yeah, they're aware that these are things that I'm gonna be asked.
Yeah.
Hey, they could charge for parking.
They could, but if we're gonna implement a permit fee for you river users, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna come up in the. All right, we're ready to move on to multifamily tax exemption. Lilith.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me share my screen. I have a couple of different things to go over. One of the things we've been talking about is where this might apply in the city, the multifamily tax exemption. And so I'm just going to touch on a few random ideas that we've talked about in the past, and then I'm going to walk through the document that's in your packet. So one of the random things that we've talked about is where does this exemption apply if we are to adopt it? I wanted to use this as an opportunity to remind the city council that we do have a GIS map on the city's webpage. It's one of our big buttons on the very front page, GIS and permit portal. So anytime you want to look at permits, you can do that, but it also has the interactive map. So when you open up that interactive map, you'll get something similar to this. If you click on the layers button, you can turn off the zoning and turn on other information, including the PRSA boundary. I know that's a question from time to time we get. So know that that's there. And if you want to see the latest aerial images or historical ways of looking at maps like topography, you can look for 4 little squares. That's where you'll find base imagery that can go underneath. So I wanted to divert a little bit there because that's a neat program. It's a lot of information. I just want to remind you it's there. For purposes of the multifamily tax exemption, we would be looking at, staff has been proposing all commercial zones. That's the bright red, the burgundy, and the pink, tourist commercial, central commercial, general commercial, and multifamily, which is the orange colors for the tax exemption program. So that's what we're proposing. It still needs to be vetted through you, through public workshop and hearing, and eventually through an adoption process. But that's initial proposal. Are there any concerns or questions on allowing for this tax exemption program in these areas if it is to move forward. I know there's questions about the program, but I just want to know if there's an.
Yeah, I do. I tried to get in there today and it kept saying error, so I'll have to come by and maybe show me, maybe I'm doing something wrong to try to get into that portal. And, I just wanted to be clear in my own mind. So the multifamily tax, are you talking about where, if a builder builds and they have some affordable, that it's that tax that you're talking about, that the people in the commercial zones and the multifamily would pay, but not in the single family?
No, this is where the development could occur that would include affordable units defined under this program. The actual tax exemption would in fact affect everyone inside the city limits.
Okay.
So this is where the building projects could occur or the renovation projects could occur.
Lilith, quick question about the residential, the yellow. I'm sure this has gone through the planning commission. Could you just briefly summarize what pros and cons came up when you discussed potentially putting this program in the residential area?
No,
Or-
this program is being vetted through the city council. So
Okay.
after today's study session, we have on the agenda a public workshop for September 26th, because we really haven't had a lot of any opportunity for public input outside of the housing committee discussions or just a few small discussions. So now we have a very clean draft document. Want to walk through that with you. Next meeting, walk through it with the public and have public comment. And then October 10th, we would have a public hearing and potentially adopt a program.
Yeah, but my question is, are there, just off the top of your head, are there reasons why it would or wouldn't qualify to be in the residential zone district? In other words, would it benefit the city? Would it benefit the resident? Would it benefit affordable housing? I'm just curious if that's come up at all. Because I know we're confining it to the multifamily zone and the commercial, but we do offer duplexes all over the city, which don't qualify for this program. Just curious if that's come up.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
pro.
thank you. No, thank you for clarifying your question. The program requires a minimum density of 15 units per acre. So it's not appropriate for a residential area.
Except the multifamily.
So, you
Yeah.
know, so could the Marson property that was just acquired by men come in after the fact and try to get some of this exemption?
Well, which one is Marston's? I mean, they had 31
The one on
properties.
Ski Hill and Pine.
No, that's residential.
Still not multi.
Yeah. I don't know if the density is still.
Not in the, it's not in the.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, what is it?
It's grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions about that, I will move to the document itself and kind of walk through that. I've also just forwarded onto the city council members kind of an example, and I'll walk through it, of the impacts of the tax shift. So just budgeting our time, I'll walk through the highlights of this document with a few questions, but leave time at the end to walk through the tax shift analysis, which I will also share on the screen. So this draft code is very similar to what we've been talking about for some time. No real changes to the purpose statement or the definitions, which are under state law. We just reviewed the targeted designated area, which would be the commercial and the multifamily zones where this program could be utilized. There are two programs that we're proposing moving forward, a 12-year and a 20-year. our consultant at Burke did not recommend the 8-year. The 12-year requires multifamily housing be affordable and that 20% of the units be provided as affordable housing under this program, which is up to 115% of the AMI, average median income for Chelan County. Then the 25-year, excuse me, before I move on, the 12-year is for rental properties. The 20-year is for owner occupancy exemptions. And it requires a minimum of 25% of the properties, of the units be in this program as affordable units, but again, as an owner. And because they're owner occupied, they do require an outside agency such as MEN or a housing authority partnership. However, the way we've drafted this, that partnership is also required for the 12-year program. And the reason we're recommending that is because we don't have enough city staff to adequately monitor these. And that is the intent here, is to ensure that they stay affordable after they enter the program. They do have to provide a report, but all of that needs to be reviewed, and having a partnership with somebody like MEND or Affordable Housing Unit agency will ensure have a higher likelihood of success. So any questions on that section there, 12 and 20
Yeah,
year?
well, I had a question. Reading through that says, like for the 12 successive years, it ends with 20% of the multi-family housing units, quarter of the units to low-income households. The turn of the phrase, fractional remainder shall be rounded up to the whole next number. Can you explain that for me? Fractional remainder shall be rounded up to the whole next number.
Yeah, if the development had like 65 units and you look at 20%, you're going to end up with a point something. And so regardless of what that point is, 0.1, 0.2, you're going to round it up.
We'll give you one more unit.
Yeah,
By
all right.
Mhm.
We got that advantage. Okay, thank you.
All right, then the next section of the code is project eligibility. In other words, who's eligible for this tax exemption. It's based on being in the defined area that the city chooses. And then there's requirements if it's an existing building. If you have tenants in there, there's requirements on displacement. If you have to kick people out to do your renovations, how many people you bring back, what their income levels are, that's B. And it also relates to D, which is requalification. If they had renters in there, you give them the opportunity to apply to be back into the unit once it's redeveloped. So we have a provision for that. You can't be in violation of the building codes, which makes sense. And then we define the size, a minimum of 4 units. They don't need to be attached. They don't need to be duplexes. They could actually be 4 cottage homes, potentially. So, but that's the minimum number of affordable units to enter the program under state law. Similar quality and construction, this is an added level of qualification that we've added as staff. And the goal here is just to make sure that the units are comparable to non-low income units. There were developers who were going on the cheap for the cheaper unit. I understand, but here we want to be really clear that we'd like them to be similar size and configuration. They don't have to have marble countertops, but at least the size and configuration needs to be similar. And then permanent residential housing under the state law definition here. This is really just addressing short-term rentals. It's saying permanent as in 30 days or more. It's not what we think of as, years in the same house. They were trying to ensure that for larger projects that have mixed use, that you can enter this program, but you have to ensure that 50% or more of your units are long-term renters, 30 days or more, not short-term renters. So they're trying to find that balance between a hotel and affordable housing units.
Are they talking about your, like, 20% of your units are gonna be affordable? They're
Mhm.
saying 50%, at least 50% have to be, or does it, would mean, we're actually talking about all percent would have to be affordable, would never be anything else but that, right?
Yeah, the 20% affordable or the 25% affordable, that's the affordability issue. 50% of the units have to be long-term rentals, which is defined in this case as 30 days or more. So for the Leavenworth Meadows project, that's all long-term rental. That's 100% permanent residential housing by this definition. They could enter this program and add 20% of their units into the low income affordable tax, multifamily tax exemption. Does that make sense? Those are two different things.
Yeah, I just I think I get it, I just didn't know why they had at least 50% of the new converted
Mhm.
multifamily housing, must be. I didn't know I didn't quite understand the 50% thing. I think they all.
Yeah, you could think of Hotel Europa downtown, if they, I think they have 8 to 10 units.
Well, 4.020 and 3.
They decide.
Oh, she's breaking now.
Uh,
Breaking up
oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah, I should be better now. I stopped talking. I didn't hear you, Sharon.
Oh, the 3.41.020 and the 3.41030 both say residential target areas. That's what I was trying to look up today. I was trying to look up the 3.41.20 since it's not on here, or I couldn't find it on here. So what is the difference? Is there two different residential target areas?
No, those define the same thing. And that is the multifamily zoning and the commercial zoning. I've just switched it on the screen for you.
What colors
So
are they, Lilith?
yes, you bet. That's the orange, the burgundy, the red, and the pink.
And I think going back, if I can say to yours, so because it can happen in the commercial, which can be short-term rentals, 50% of them can't be. And then if it's gonna be using this program and it's in the commercial zone that allows for short-term rentals, 50% of them have to be permanent rentals, which means longer than. And then of those, the affordable units are the 20 or whatever. So isn't that right, Lilith?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I was
And so
I was
that's
trying
what
to
would apply, whereas not, the Meadows project is in multifamily, so it's gotta all be permanent.
Okay.
Right, we're talking, because we're allowing it in the commercial area as well, that's where that would apply.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
When you have the workshop, I think it'd be really important to not just have words on the paper, but have pictures that, that actually show what you're saying here. For people like me.
I will do my best. I was trying, when I was breaking up, I was trying to give an example of like the Hotel Europa, where it could be transient. So I'll try to come up with a specific example for the workshop.
Yeah, you had that one workshop, I don't remember a lot about it right now, but was when shortly after you were here hired by the city. And it was an excellent workshop and you had plenty of diagrams and things so that people could follow along and not just get gobbled up by rambling words.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you so much. We'll look to do our best. It's such a dry subject, but we'll do our best with that. Any case, so that's the permanent residential housing criteria. And thank you for asking the questions on it, Zeke. It's important to clarify that. They have to be ready to complete the project within 3 years. Later on in the regulations, we do offer an administrative extension if they're at a certain point in their construction of up to 2 years. And then they have to comply with all standards. And then on J, we asked for a financial analysis. And this is where the applicant would look at, oh, my project's going to cost $8 million. What does that look like with the tax shift? And we don't have a lot of details on the financial analysis. But the intent here is just to help the city council members, because you approve these exemptions as council members, and there are criteria for that approval under 060, and we'll walk through those as well. So they would address the impacts financially, and I have an example of that. K is partnering with another housing organization, which I touched on earlier. So let me go ahead and switch my screen share to the example for taxes. Okay, this is a project where it was an $8 million project. And what our consultant did was they looked at the taxes before and the taxes after. Now, as you can imagine, this is highly variable because there's so many nuances to tax collection and tax distribution. So there's a large disclaimer here that these results should only be viewed as an example of impacts for a single year and not for extending into the future. There's other disclaimers here as well. So just know that it's not going to be a perfect representation. So they did the property value of about $8 million. This is for the construction of the low-income units. It's not for the total construction of the project or the land. It's just the construction of the exempt units. If that's $8 million, the initial estimate of tax impact to an individual property valued at $400,000 is about just under $10. You see it on your screen there. They have the base taxes, and then they have showing it with the scenario of the exemption, and it goes up by $9.63 or 0.3% shift. The shift is based on your value of your property. So if your property is valued at $800,000, this shift would be higher. And because it's based on the value of the property, that means that the downtown core, where values are much higher on those buildings, would generally take a larger hit per property owner to cover this multifamily tax exemption. But then they also get the benefit of having workforce housing. That's difficult to have at the moment. Server housing, dishwasher housing, back of the house staff for hotels, and just other people struggling with income issues. So with that,
question on. That was on, this is a wide variable thing. So with that, we're talking like. If your property was worth, you say. That particular property, as you made an example, was 800,000.
400.
8 million.
$8 million
Was the project,
was just for the affordable.
right?
Mhm.
Not the whole thing.
Okay.
The affordable units are 8 million. That roughly, we're looking at $10 for a $400,000.
Oh, so the $10 was the 400,000.
Would a $400,000, if your house is worth, and again,
Right.
all the
Under,
variables, but just to give a rough idea of what the numbers we would be talking about. And an 8 million, I know when we were talking like with the Weidner group, they were say roughly, and this has been, I'm sure everything's higher now, but 200,000 a unit. So 8 million would get you what? 5, we'd give you 1, so it'd give you 40. So 40 units would give you roughly that 8 million.
Okay.
So for that $10 that we would be paying for 400,000, we'd be getting 40 units for the 12 years.
And that $10, what she's saying is, would be applied to the other properties in the community.
Right. If your home was a $400,000 home,
Right.
you would see an increase
Of
of that
$10.
$10
And that's $10 a year.
a year, right?
To get
Per year.
40
To get
affordable
40
units for your
units.
community.
So 80 cents a month.
cover the multifamily.
Like, that's $10.
$10 a year.
A year.
80 cents a month.
Yearly difference.
You know.
That's
Right.
if the city doesn't.
No, this is a shift.
Yeah, this is
This
just.
is the shift.
This is a shift.
Yeah.
Was that-
Budget.
You don't trust any of it.
That's just fine.
That's just me.
Yep.
How many others will be added on to that?
Well, we'll see.
One place.
Yep. That's 40 place.
I'm gonna not that.
But the council approves these
Right.
exceptions.
Every project would have to go through the council again to get this approval. So, I mean, this is setting up a program that they could apply for and opt in to try to use it. But it still has to come before you.
That was one of the things I was gonna touch on here at the very end, just to let you know. So we go through application requirements and then application review and issuance. The applications come in under 060 to the community development director or designee. And then we review them for completeness and present a packet to the city council. The council and the applicant will meet. And this talks about how the council would review those. Item B, minimum of 4 units, length of exemption, has owner complied with the guidelines that we've adopted, and is it in the correct zone? And then they've paid their fee. So that is all reviewed by the city council. If approved, then the applicant would enter into a contract with the city. And that would go to city's legal counsel, reviewed by the city council again at a meeting, as you do with all other contracts. And then upon approval of the contract, they would have time to build the units and become tax exempt through application. Once the units are built, we have to verify. We send it off to the Chelan County Assessor's Office. And if they're deemed compliant with all the requirements, the next year following that, the tax exemption goes into place. So that's the process steps.
Other question, well, I tried to find this code. And I didn't have it what, I mean. This,
RCW?
yeah, I couldn't find anything to do with NFT on the RCW. I found, it didn't match this, it wasn't, I found 3.14, but I couldn't find this 3.41 stuff. So.
Oh,
I need-
no, no, the RCW is the 8414.
Right.
These 3.41s are all draft code for our code.
So is it?
Yeah,
It hasn't been adopted yet.
So when I
Right.
put this, I got garbage rates.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 3.4 is revenue. It is revenue in our code.
Does this exist?
No,
no,
no, this doesn't.
That's why you couldn't find it. It's not in
Wasn't
there.
there yet?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, chapter 3 is our revenue chapter section.
okay.
sorry, Zeke, I thought you were looking for the state RCW. Yeah, this is a new,
Anyway, that was my question, so that's, so.
okay.
So RCW exists, this doesn't yet.
And to piggyback on that, that's the reason why the city council can hold the workshops and the hearings, because it is in chapter 3. That is not required to go to the planning commission. So I know there was a question about, or by some, about inclusionary zoning. That is going to be in chapter 18, which is required to go through the planning commission. So.
I thought we could pull that off their docket and we could deal with it. Right?
We talked about that, and I can bring you the draft of what it looks like. But it has to go through the planning commission for their workshops and recommendation.
Yes,
We took this one off their plate though.
okay. I just thought, is that arbitrary or is it, can we take the inclusionary zoning off?
No, it's required in code because it's in the zoning chapter to be addressed by the planning commission.
Because there exists in code. Is that what you're saying?
Because it's under
Be-
zoning.
Because it's under zoning, chapter 18.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I was just gonna dovetail off of what Steve was talking about, back in August 8th, Mr. Bjorn of Burke Consulting. He says several cities were evolving a mandatory inclusionary zone from the MTFE. They were bringing that up and kind of combining the two. He made that point, and he said several cities had successfully done that in Washington. So I would love to, if we could kind of forge a pathway. Because I feel like that's, the MTFE is great at incentivizing people to build, more housing density and make it ultimately more affordable housing. I believe it's gonna work. However, if the city really could put some teeth into it and create an inclusionary housing for larger developments, like anything over 15 units per acre, or at that level, and just say, hey, no, we're making this mandatory. You actually have to. I think that would be probably a better path forward for us to realize more for it. So instead of making it a voluntary. No, the two
Okay,
sure.
yeah, those are two different programs, and they can exist together and they can exist independently. So we'll we'll look at the mandatory inclusionary zoning, and we'll already have this one on the book. So people who are doing inclusionary zoning and meet the minimum criteria can apply for the city council to exempt their taxes as well. So.
Yeah, the volunteer program is amazing, and I think it's great to give people that option. But it would be great to also, in addition, like you said, create effective programs that might cooperate with that. Say, hey, it's mandatory now. We've made it, whatever percentage we say it. But you also get this great deal because we made it happen. So it's kind of like a gimme for,
The carrot and the stick are all one.
yeah. I just think, we have limited land, 11. I feel like we should put our foot down as to, what's being developed and how well we tie on it. I think this is the better thing. It is, and because it doesn't cost them anything. Right, but will they do it? And if they do it,
Well, that's
great.
what we're trying to find out.
Yeah.
We're trying to post on a bunch of stuff, because they're gonna say, we'll go down the road.
Yeah,
Well,
I think we
That's
did.
also not a bad idea. As far as I'm concerned, you can go down the road. There was somebody on, I just think that if this truly is I'm getting on soapbox here, but we're really after affordable housing. We need to use every single tool
we can throw full out of the box. And I think inclusionary zoning has a place, so.
And like you said, if they can't make it here,
They'll do it elsewhere.
Yeah.
there's plenty of places they could make it. They can build in Waterville.
Our land is cheap.
Belmar has a idea with that club.
Okay, city council members, please be prepared for a public workshop, for public questions. If something comes up that you don't feel comfortable answering or addressing, I am available. The easiest way to get a hold of me is a quick email, but a phone call works too. So, looking forward to seeing if there is public discussion on it or how much, and maybe getting it passed in October.
You know, Lilith, I think an important part to consider for that workshop is how, because this is gonna affect the bonds from the fire department and hospital. I think people need, this has been great information, but we need to kind of know something about how that does impact those organizations.
The fire district and the hospital district. I
Yeah.
think we're,
In the end, if that's a, yeah.
Right, no, that's all right. You've already, when she presented that was a part of the.
Right, no, and I just think the percentage of.
Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah, it seems, but Lilith, thank you for laying it out so eloquently, it helped me understand.
yeah, that's a great example.
All right. We've got time for a small break. You see the council updates, suggestions for future. We're gonna do library relocation, communications policies.
That might get kicked because I don't still have the draft from Emily yet.
Okay, space needs assessment review, and then legislative priorities will be coming for a first go around. Other quick things before we take the break.
Earl, I've been asked by a couple of people that the city would consider at the Osmo property.
So we could discuss that during the study session in 2 weeks.
Yeah, when we talk about, but an idea of a commercial kitchen has come up.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there is a space in there that would,
It's
right. It would have to be completely redone, but it is a space that could accommodate.
Well, Jared will get here something.
No, only if you can kick it down.
$12 a month.
If they make your favorite food.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
I like the city council since affordable housing is one of the big priorities. Talking to a former member of, trying to put that whole project together. Metal art, and he recommended that if we really want to have this as our goal, that we should, for one thing, Ben has set a goal for how many houses we build to the time span. And John Agnew recommended that. First off, we give an inventory of all the affordable housing units we've got, Marston's and the other ones that Ben built. Just get the inventory, get a number down. Second inventory was number of seniors in their homes that are having a problem and need to stay there, that we might be able to help as a city keep them there. I don't know how we do that, but I think that's important information data that we need to get.
Well, I think, again, it's a matter of, to get that information, there's not a magic place to go and say, okay, who's elderly and who's having trouble and who's, all of that stuff. So, I mean, you're talking about time and energy and.
Okay,
people and
I guess what we can do though, is we can get inventory of.
Oh, we know the affordable units and, yeah.
Mend actually did a study when Meadowlark was being
As
done.
a council, we should know that, because we do understand, but
Sure.
sure know that.
And, we've heard people use the total number and what they say that we've got 10% of our units are affordable units in this town. What they leave out is the majority of those are senior. Because it counts both the, Bird Rose, Garden House, and Mountain Meadows gets counted as senior affordable. So all of those add up to most of our affordable units. So I can tell you that much.
Well, I would like to know
What's the number?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's there.
okay. The only other thing I'd like to add, future is, investing in more firewise future.
Right.
Discuss that, the fire retrofit program is a great start, but like looking at, sprinklers for the rooftops for downtown and other ways of mitigating fire, as, we just witnessed in the way, skill. So like if we could figure out more programs, more grants, more proactive stuff instead of waiting for it to happen and trying. Yeah, I can do hydrant on my street, right?
Yeah, new hydrant.
I think there's.
Yeah, and I think there's, I mean, we've talked to that internally too, in that retrofit program. I think the way to expand that is again, make it a loan program. And then it's directly, because you got a direct connection to safety and of the community by doing it. So, I mean, it's an easy sell that way. And then when you make it a loan program, you don't worry about, you're not giving public funds to anybody. What you're doing though is protecting your community, like you said. So, I mean, I think if we want to grow that program, that's the way to grow it.
Commissioner Frank also had some direct recommendations for us too, and I wish Tom was here to hear that. So
He's reviewed the tape.
Yeah, he listened to that too.
Yeah, did partly involve our public works staff. I thought, we need to take those things to heart. We had all the emergency management people here, and if Marco didn't just bring it up, it would have just been in the minutes and nothing would have changed. And I totally appreciate affordable housing, but we have to keep fire on the forefront. It's a bigger threat to our community than affordable housing. I agree. And we don't, honestly, I'm ashamed that we haven't done more. I feel ashamed because it's something that I think is a priority. I've been here 6 years, and our WUI codes, I think is a check in the win column, but the fire retrofit program is great, but it's too little, way too little. And it's not going to protect our town in the near term. And we fund a lot of things, we fund a lot of activities, and I'd be hard pressed to find something that's more important than protecting our town.
Real and imminent, right?
It's so real. I can't believe we're not talking about it every meeting, actually.
Well,
I mean, we know we're the #1 threat for wildfire in Washington,
right.
And what have we done about it? Sorry to be somber like that, but I'm leaving council, and it gets old talking and not doing.
I'll carry your torch. I guess that's a bad.
No,
No, I'll definitely push for them.
So will I.
Yeah, and thanks, Sharon. Yeah, we have to keep this going. I totally agree with you.
We could be Maui, it's.
Yeah.
And then with the way they described it, we would be gone. It would just go from house to house and house, and I'm worried because the codes are adding more, you can have an ADU, you can have this, you can have that. And so there's so much more fuel that we're adding. In my opinion.
Yep, you got 1 minute.
okay, let's go.
1 minute.
Get her.
Yeah.
Quick break. You spent your break.
Yeah. Pizza and all that.
I appreciate it.
So.
Huh? Does anybody have apples? Huh? No, no.
Thanks for letting me have a couple of
I like
questions.
having you here. I like having you. Have some pizza. There's nothing vegetarian, but honestly, I have. Hi.
Yeah.
These are for you to hand out maybe tomorrow.
And then I have.
If you could. Folks, these I can pass these.
That's no problem. I can share it. Well, you should put it on your box.
I guess so.
You want me to email it to you?
They're all sections. Make sure.
I'll get a deal with this. Would you like her?
Exposure. I don't know, I know these people all again, so that just do it. Out. Oh, okay. You can.
We can get it started.
I think people are unaware of this, that things are. I had to go upstairs. Boxes. Oh.
Yeah, well, they're gonna get so.
I'm gonna share it.
That's a concern sometimes.
It's all good news. Good, so you can open it, like I said, it's not gonna be scary at all.
What?
No, won't scare. No.
Like, don't look forward to that time of thought.
Your first.
Call the Leavenworth City Council meeting for September 12th to order. Please stand for flag salute. Karen?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Karen Water. Jason Lumber.
Dan Hesper.
Dee Chrysler.
Marco Aurelio.
Tibor Lauer.
All right, great, thanks. I think Sharon has a couple of quick questions on claims before we do the consent agenda, and then I want to move item number 7, the Burton Consulting. I want to move that down to ordinances. There's been an increase there, and I think we just need to talk about it since it's above what was listed here for your. So we'll just pull that out, but ask your question.
Yeah, I was wondering what the level was brought in access road. Over $1,000,
What page? What page?
oh, I'm sorry, Q4.
And do you see what the vendor name is?
Gray and Osborne.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that is a pass-through cost. So we paid Gray and Osborne to do work, and then we will bill the applicant for those services.
Okay,
The Leavenworth Rock Gym is a facility going in behind Safeway.
okay, what is it?
The rock climbing
gym.
We'll just go in the building and climb up rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Anytime you want to come, Sharon, I climb at RRG twice a week in Wenatchee.
Oh,
Yes, they do. World
My other
class.
question is, the Springs Development Review, Gray and Osborne, same page.
So that is again, an item where that is a developer. And we are paying for Gray and Osborne to review something for them, and then we bill them for the service.
Okay. Okay, have one more. I was wondering, there was like 6 best hall, I don't know if they're quinceañeras or what, that they canceled. That,
Well, we do Fest Hall refunds a lot.
yeah,
Those are actually their deposits being refunded after their event has occurred.
so they have the event.
They have the
Okay, I
event.
was wondering what.
No. No, most of them are their deposits being refunded to them.
Okay, and then there was on page 10, a tree removed at 704 Cedar Street.
So the city did Young Bucks.
Yeah, so we had a tree that was dying in right away.
So it was a hazard, so we had, it was on city property.
So, all right. Thank you.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So
Who? You did. Jason moved and seconded. All those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. Right. And we'll go to comments from the public on items not on the agenda. Anybody? Well, Matt, you look like you wanted to get up, so.
I have 3 minutes. I was gonna set my timer.
No, I don't hold you to that.
Okay. Well, you know, we have a lot here. I can read real fast. But actually, this is an opportunity for the Upper Valley Historical Society. They thank you for everything, but also, we have a new board member. This is Heather McDowell. Heather is our newest board member just last month. And Heather comes from a long, well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of history of her so that we can keep this moving along, but she really talked about herself. She's done a lot. Was a docent, down in Ventura, for 15 years, but also a volunteer with the Red Cross for 10. She deployed volunteers internationally to, major disasters, internationally, nationally. So she did coordination with that and things, and, really, there was also the, 10 years, 30 years, but historical reenactments. She used to lug all that rendezvous events, which you bring in all your supplies and you do it from scratch. Do it for a couple of weeks anyway. She did that for 30 years. So we're really glad to have Heather on our board. She's also done volunteer work down at our museum here. It's been really just great to have. I just wanted to bring her in and just kind of show her off. But we're building our board and we're excited about that. It's a process. So I think you all know who I am, but I'll just say my name is Matt Cave, and I'm the board president of the Upper Valley Historical Society. The Historical Society operates the Grade 11 Work Museum. So it's a trade name of ours, Grade 11 Work Museum. I just wanted to be here on behalf of our board to thank the city. Looking back, it was really nice. This last application for grants, we had to go back and review the history of funding that came from the city, which woke me up to what went on before I came on the scene. And really, the work that you guys did to help us to get to where we are. I feel in a very good spot right now. We've got good momentum and building a museum. Without your support, we couldn't have done it. We started out at the other location, no more than 2,000 visitors a year, pretty much that location. This year we'll hit 12,000. We have some pretty, what do you say? There are projects that we wanted to accomplish. There's going to be, when we pull them off, they'll be very successful. I think probably by the year 2028, we'll have 25,000 people visiting this, which is incredible for any small museum our size. You can get the structure that we have. Let's say it's a kind of a miracle, and it is. We got into that, shoehorned into that spot. But yeah. This one here, your support helped us get to where we are now. We couldn't have done it without it. That is true. There were some really lean times or when we were at the other location there when I showed up. And they showed up 1 month and the next month they voted me in for president. And I thought, oh, great. Things been here for 15 years. It's a well-oiled machine. So it's going pretty well now. But they were volunteers. And I don't disrespect them. It's a volunteer organization. That's what we do. We do the best we can, as they did. But it's come a long way, and we're just real happy to be where we are. But without your support, I'm looking back at the monies. There's no way that place would be there right now. You guys hadn't done it. Started in 2014, so I appreciate that. Those of you that have been around here, Zeke, I don't know. I know. Mayor, Elmer Larson, if he was here, I could thank him because I know he wasn't here during those lean times too. Know all about it. Our grand opening, which was on Sunday for our new the Scotia exhibit, was a success. We had over 300 people visit the museum. We opened it up for free. It's an open house. But I'll tell you what, from building a bridge with the Scotia tribal members to here, which is their ancestral homelands and things like that. We kept this pretty stout bridge that got erected. And it's a really nice program. I just want to share, I'm going to stop real quick here, but I wanted to get to the one point about this exhibit that is installed there. We all have the land acknowledgements that we've heard, all heard those, but I read our land acknowledgement, which is kind of nice because it's a little centered and it's short, but it is impactful. But I read that and it's really, our museum just presents that land acknowledgement. That land acknowledgement is within that exhibit, really. You could see it in there. So that exhibit was, I didn't change one word. It was all their words from the tribal members. So it worked it's all the way up through the tribal elders. We got it done in 2 years, which is an incredible feat considering there's a lot of talking that goes on within the tribes. Really great. I went over to Nispelam a couple times to meet with their and just to present and myself and as representing the board. But I want to share with you this last part. There is a fellow commented about these panels because it was all about these panels that were being presented. So here's all this history. They've all read it. They understand it. And he said, and he's on that business board over there. He said, prior to this exhibit going in, he wouldn't have set 2 feet into this town, not 2 feet. It's not coming. But now with that exhibit here, he says, I'm bringing my kids to the museum, which is pretty to me, hope was just like really a great program, you know, and so we're really excited about it because we tell the story. If you haven't been to the museum yet, but hopefully you get over there. It's built on a storyline, and there front and center on the first, the very end of it's going to be the Bavarianization. We're going to get to that. That's going to be a overhaul too. I think it will be pretty good. So we're just excited to be here. We thank you for your unwavering support. We haven't wavered yet. So keep up the work and appreciate everything that you guys do. Hey, Sobe.
The coolest part about that exhibit is clicking that button and hearing people say "Nskoska."
Yeah, that's right. That's a hard thing to say because there's guttural sounds and the cues and back and you know at the end. So yeah, thank you. We do have some buttons that you do push. That was to get in there to say some of the words. There's a gal that just passed. She was the one last surviving fully fluent in their Humching language. So she just recently passed away and she's part of that recordings in there. It's really cool. So hopefully you'll make it up there.
That's a great
Right. It is. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Nice job.
As well.
Nice job on Sunday, man.
Over there, man. Over there. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Holly? Yeah. I see it.
Yeah, thanks. So my comment is going to the fire, the Firewiser or, that meeting a little while back. And there's a lot of really good information about the response from the Chelan fire response team and how they brought in all kinds of people around the state to help if we have a fire. But I really, what Jason says really rings true. And it's something that a lot of people are talking about right now. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? And I think a lot of people, the traffic backup and this and that. So there is a lot of concern about fire in our small town. What do we do if a town rips through, a fire rips through town, kind of like what we have just seen, happen in Hawaii, what we saw in Paradise, what we've seen around the areas. And so I was just wondering, is it something that there could be organized a big, like a meeting, like at the fire hall or wherever, that you could just bring in the whole community together and just, and throw out ideas, let, people say, hey, what about this? What about that? And have a big discussion. It's one thing to come to a council meeting and people say, yeah, we're really worried about it. But a lot of people in town have some ideas, and it might be worth it to get together a big town meeting about what are your ideas, helpful ideas on how we can mitigate a fire if one comes to the edge of town and looks like it's going to rip through. So I don't know if that's something that could be set up that would give people at least a chance to kind of voice thoughts that, you know, how we can come together. I know at the meeting, at the end, you know, Zeke had mentioned, hey, are we doing everything we can as a city to help prepare for something, a situation like that? And Ross Frank got up and he said, you know, actually, there are a lot of things that we can do to come together as our small city that can have an impact on how we mitigate for a fire, you know, considering that getting out of town is going to be a real big issue. So I don't know if that can be something that could be set up for the residences. I realize that now we're getting out of fire season, but next summer will be right around the corner. And so just maybe a thought of how that could be planned, and people in the city, well, UJ, I mean, people in the valley could have just come together and throw out ideas and see what we can do to get things rolling to help push forward possibilities of, you know, how we can handle that. So just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly.
All right, we are ready then to move on to resolutions, ordinances, orders, and other business, and we'll start with the one I moved down there, the professional service agreement with PERC. And well, if we move that down because of the request for the increase, and just want to give time then to get those questions answered.
Yes, great. Thank you, Mayor. We had originally signed a contract and it's in place for $30,000. Burke Consulting did review a short plat. They're doing a variance. They've done 2 conditional use permits for bed and breakfast. And that cost was around $20,000 plus the work on the multifamily tax exemption. So that 30,000 is going to disappear quickly. We have a recreational center for the Wenatchee River Institute. That's a conditional use permit. We have 3 more bed and breakfasts coming through, people trying to get in before the codes change. But we also have the variants that they're currently working on. All those items will be heard at an October 31st hearing with the hearing examiner. To give them all this work, I don't have the cost estimate today, but I wanted to bump the contract up with anticipation of paying for those processes to be done, and also any other work that might come up between now and the end of the year. And we're doing this because we have lost our senior planner and we are short-staffed. So the good news is we did a job offer just this week for the permit technician, and that position will be getting filled October 1st. So we will slowly be staffing up, but there is a need to make sure that we have enough support to keep things running smoothly and in a timely manner. So I am requesting that this contract be bumped up to $60,000. I don't think we'll need it all, but it does give us adequate cushion from now to the end of the year. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Jason?
Yeah, Lil, if I want to give you the resources you need, it's really important that we maintain a high level of service. I'm concerned that we lost Maggie, and I really hope that we are recruiting a replacement and working on retention, because losing staff like that hurts us, hurts you. It affects our level of service to our residents. So it pains me to pay a consultant $60,000 because that would go a long way toward a FTE. So I will approve this without blinking, but also really hope that we work on recruitment and retention, because turnover is a killer, and we don't want to end up. Chelan County's got a bad rep, and I don't want to end up like that. No, I want our planning department to maintain a really high level of service, because that is like the face of our city government in a lot of people's eyes. And I was bummed to lose Maggie, and honestly, I saw it coming.
People recruit from Leavenworth, we make great people.
And we don't.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the
Salary-wise,
beast.
so-
Maggie came to us from Chelan County, along with Lilith.
Along with Will,
That's just
along
my
with
like
Mark.
words
along
of
with-
encouragement, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's do a better job of keeping people like Maggie around.
Yeah.
Definitely. I also spoke with Lilith today a little about the funding side of it. And ultimately, there will be some savings in the salaries, wages, and benefit lines. Unfortunately, we're almost at about halfway on her budget for the year, and we're just a little over halfway through the year. Part of that was because there was payouts to those employees that departed, but some of this $60,000 request tonight could be offset by those savings that will occur in the personnel and wage lines.
Any other questions?
Yeah, how would that work?
So for instance, if there's still $40,000 left over in the personnel lines, I can move those rather than ask you for another full 40 of this 60,000 that she's asking for tonight. I may only have to move 20,000 is what I'm saying.
Somehow my brain is not following it.
It's instead of using it for personnel, our own personnel, it can be shifted over to pay for the.
To cover this cost.
That position's vacant, so.
Just until we fill the position, Sharon. We have all intentions of filling all of her positions. But in the meantime, we're saving money by them being vacant. So we can use some of her requests to cover those costs.
So we're not taking 60,000. Are we sending 60,000 to Bert?
Well, only after they bill us for the services they actually render. What she's asking tonight is that you approve a PSA to allow her to spend up to $60,000. That doesn't mean. Correct,
The other things.
with Burke. And part of how we'll pay for that is from the savings in the personnel costs.
So this isn't upping the budget, it's just saying it's a contract though, so it needs your approval to go for the contract. But it's not adding that much to our budget,
Right.
it's just shifting.
Sharon, it's a money shift.
It's a money shift.
Instead of paying employees with work which we don't have. Right. We're paying somebody else to do the work which we need to have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jason said.
But we're not paying,
We're expecting them to do $60,000 worth of work.
it's a possibility.
Okay.
Because all the work that's backed up, but if she fills the position, then some of that will come off.
Right.
So Chantel's not gonna write him a check for 40,000 plus.
No.
She's gonna pay an invoice as it comes in.
For work that they've
For
done.
them doing the work of people we don't have.
Correct.
That's correct. And we're not paying benefits on this, so we're not paying
Well,
taxes, insurance and.
well, we are.
We're paying their benefits, right?
Yeah.
We're not paying it twice.
Yeah, that it keeps our delivery up.
It's just what you have to do if you don't have the staff on board.
Look at the, like, the tax shift as a. group budget.
I guess I had a question, Lilith. We got any applicants to replace Maggie yet? Is it supplier out? Is that all?
I think it's important to note that Maggie came in as a planner, not a senior planner. She kind of was promoted into that position, especially as she started taking in like a large subdivision, which typically the directors in the past have processed. So we went out as a senior planner, but I think we're gonna redirect that and go out as just a planner again. And we do have an assistant planner with Amy McCoy, and she has been taking on the bulk of the code enforcement. But just until we get the permit tech in, she's also been doing that. So she'll be able to shift once the permit tech gets in and up to speed. She'll shift to code enforcement and more of the planning. So that will ease some of this burden for this contract. But building somebody back up into the position of a senior planner is probably where we're going to be, as opposed to somebody applying for the job, particularly when the pay wage is so much below the market rate. Excuse me, below the market rate.
We're a senior candidate. We're looking to build up within the staff.
Train them up.
Train them up.
Yes,
We
I
did
think
with-
that. Mhm.
So are you and Amy the only two in that department now?
Yes, you know, and then on the building side, we have Christian, and then we have Brock from Blade Services acting as the consultant for the building official position.
Okay.
And similar to the senior planning position, we haven't always had a building official. Joel Walensky acted in that role. Mark advanced into that role with additional training and certifications. And so we do have it advertised as a building official right now, but I may drop it down again to an inspector. And because Christian is well versed in the residential now, might ask for an inspector focused on commercial to help kind of balance the team and retain Brock into next year.
Any other questions? Those are just, again, just so you know, I mean, those are hard positions to fill, and we're not the only ones. I mean, I remember when East Wenatchee had their building official, I think, open, and
They never filled it.
they never filled it. So, again, it's not unique to us, but we do what we do.
It's just really hard to lose, like Jason said, it's just
Yeah.
hard to lose mag like that.
Yeah.
Are there any training programs that this kind of skill?
Oh, we send them off to, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of colleges.
Yeah.
We start them in at the lower and we build them up with it.
That's training. Yeah.
The good news is the last couple positions that we've been putting out. How many apps did you get on yours?
14.
14. We
And I
were,
got 8.
you got 8. We were seeing 1 or 2 that would apply for a position and they were nowhere even qualified. So to be getting these numbers again is very heartening. Yes, people
Let's hope
are
so.
going back to work. Yes.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council move to approve professional services agreement, with the City of Leavenworth, Washington, Inc. for consultant services. New contract not to exceed $60,000.
Okay, moved by Ann, seconded by Zeke. Any other questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimously. Okay, next up, ordinance 1680, the Leavenworth Municipal Code updates. Can tell.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, council. So back in January or February, we modified our committees and we eliminated several of them. And so I finally got around to taking a good look at the code and all the committees that were mentioned within the code. And there's only a few, so that was nice to just have a couple to consider. Within the write-up and in the red line draft, what you have is amendment to the finance section. And Mountain View Cemetery in particular. An investment of city funds and the city administrator. Each of those reference mostly the finance committee. And then the Mountain View Cemetery referenced public works staff. And then two other ones, one that we didn't even know existed until we found it, was the Library Advisory Board and the Cumulative Reserve Fund, which in my write-up I mentioned that has not been used since 2010. So our recommendation is to go ahead and remove those 2 obsolete sections of the code. And then the amendments that are being suggested under tab 12 are very minor, but I am definitely open to any recommended changes to the red lines if you want to make them.
Can't tell if you're gonna invest in money.
Which I do.
Yeah. It's a. Something that. Tricky, I guess. The whole council will be. Temporarily.
So right now,
Yeah.
everything's invested. in state allowed investments.
Is there a
So-
report, like a brief?
So every month in your packet, and this one has one at the front of it, has your investment. It has a summary of where your funds are. If you want to read what the state regulations are for investing, you can go to the state treasurer's website. It's long and it's very dry. And we are very limited. For instance, we cannot just invest in the stock market. That's risky. We can invest in treasury bills, government-backed investments, CDs. So it's very, very limited. Right now, when something matures, so for instance, I have $1 million that just matured last month, I rolled that over into a new maturity, short-term or long-term. Within here, so the council or special council finance committee of appointees, so you guys can decide that to create a small appointed committee, kind of like a task force, to get with me and establish when needed for consideration of annual changes to the city's financial policy, which we bring to you anyways annually as a full council. But if you want to delve into something in that policy deeper, you can assign like a 3-person committee, and then we can work on that together to bring back as a recommendation to the full council. And that's how we're currently doing it now. Yeah, unless you guys request something smaller during the annual process. Okay. Yes, that's exactly how it's written. Okay. And just so I'm not working in a vacuum, the additional language of the city administrator works with me so that it's not just me making final decisions. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, I like it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, we go back and look at track record and rates.
We're getting up there to 5%, and it's gonna last for at least, I've got us laddered out 5 years right now. So if the market were to crash, we would still continue to get close to 5% on over half of our cash.
You're gonna want to pay.
Right. Leavenworth City Council moves to adopt ordinance 1680 and amending the Leavenworth Code, removing references to committees that no longer exist and obsolete code chapter.
Second.
Moved by Zeke, seconded by Jason. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next action item is a professional service agreement. Andy?
Evening, Mayor and Council. The project that I have before you with the professional services agreement is for the water transmission main replacement well site to Mill Street. It's a very long, lengthy title, but ultimately this is the Icicle Road transmission main replacement. So on February 28th of this year, you approved the pre-construction loan for the design of this project with the Department of Commerce's Public Works Board. And so now we have gone out to RFQ. We received 5 statements of qualifications from consultants. We interviewed 4 of those firms and then ultimately selected RH2 Engineering out of East Wenatchee as the most qualified. So the pre-construction loan that we have with Public Works Board is for $680,000. The fee that RH2 prepared along with this scope is for $549,795. Sorry, it's been a long day. And so ultimately this scope includes site investigation and geotechnical review. So if you approve this PSA tonight, they actually are planning to start the site investigation and geotech investigation while Icicle Road is closed. So that will be done before September 21st when that road reopens. It also includes the corrosion protection plan for the existing 24-inch line, which truthfully was a little bit outside of the scope of what we were originally proposing in the Public Works Board loan, but it's actually a benefit to us. It'll be an analysis of an existing section of 24-inch pipe we already have. It's about 30 years old, so we're going to expose it and see what kind of condition it's in and if we need any corrosion protection on it at this time. And so all that will be included in this same scope. And then there's also a substantial portion for the environmental permitting and agency coordination with both WashDOT and Chelan County due to the location of the water main. And then finally, the largest portion of the scope is for the bid ready design of the full water main.
Question. Is the selection criteria based on qualifications or also you guys maybe like cost?
We do not look at cost. So actually for architects and engineering, you're not allowed to look at cost.
Oh. Yeah, you can't look.
No.
It's not a bid, it's a qualifications-based selection.
You go by.
So the process we go through, we have a scoring criteria we provide to consultants ahead of time. And so we ask for their statement of qualifications. We score based off the criteria we list there. We select, the policy is open-ended, but right now it's at least the top 3 we interview. In this case, we had 4 that were close. So we interviewed the top 4, provide them with another list of scoring criteria for the interview. And then after the interview, score each one of them. And we actually legally have to select the most qualified and are not allowed to look at price.
Okay, that's it. I didn't know that. I know that like we're straight up contract.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll have a procurement policy coming to you that better defines how you procure different services.
Yeah, but like I said, contracts themselves. You
Here, contracts you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But in a sense, this is a contract. It's just more of it's not an actual physically consulting.
Yeah, and to provide a little more background, the idea there is that so it's engineers and architects, also landscape architects fall into that, and there's a 4th that I'm not remembering. Surveyors, thank you.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, the reason that those are qualification based and not price based is because they are the ones that are writing the full contract, and they write the criteria that the contractor is held to. So if we were to go with the low bid here, we could be cutting corners and missing steps and ultimately end up with a worse product. Where in theory, the contractor is held to the contract that, the A&E services have prepared. Therefore, there is minimum qualifications that they have to meet in the construction process.
Any other question?
Yeah.
On the liability insurance.
Yes.
So on 3 subcontractors.
Yep.
2 have a $2 million general liability except ARC and zoning.
Yes. So what I've been told is we actually really struggle to find any contractors who can get I have to look it up. I think it's 1 million for each occurrence, 2 million aggregate, I believe is what they have. Am I saying that backwards?
Well, instead, so on commercial general liability.
Yes.
For the, for plateau or oversight, it's 2 million and 2 million. For ARCI, it's 1 million, 2 million. There should be 2 million too.
No, so the issue we run into is that insurance, generally what we find is insurance companies for site development or site, I guess more civil contractors, they don't offer the 2 million each occurrence and 2 million aggregate. They only offer the 1 million each occurrence, 2 million general aggregate. Usually what we do, the city attorney reviewed this and said he was fine with this, but the other thing that we
fine with it. It just didn't look right. It looked like.
Yeah.
$1 million insurance.
Yeah, so just to provide a little more background.
No one's gonna be in the hole.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of pushback on this from contractors. They really struggle to get the 2 million that we require in our contracts. And so what we've also done with other contractors is allow them to have a 1 million additional on top of this umbrella policy. And so for this, we didn't require that. All that they're doing as part of this contract is digging a couple, I don't want to downplay it, but they are digging a couple of holes for the geo investigation. And then for the corrosion.
If legal's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, something right here.
I had a question, Andy, on the examination of the 24-inch pipe. So
Yeah.
where is that? Is that well field or is that?
Yeah, so it's about 900 lineal feet of pipe from our existing well field out to Icicle Road.
Okay.
So that section is already 24-inch. There's a really small, like maybe 10-15 foot section that's 14-inch that we're going to upsize, and then the rest of it is already 24-inch. So then we'll be tying into that 24-inch where it intersects Icicle Road, and then replacing from there all the way up to US 2 with 24-inch.
What's the size going up bicycle?
It'll, sorry,
What's the size of the dam, or it'll go through the intersection?
it'll also be 24 inch. Yeah.
We just wonder what kind of shape that is, since it was put in 30 years ago.
Exactly. And then also not knowing the properties of the soil. So we are doing the corrosion protection plan for the new main we're putting in, but also evaluating the existing, just so that we know if that needs to be replaced in the near future too. We could lump this all into one project if that 900 feet needs to be replaced too. Or evaluated at least.
All right. Somebody wanna make a motion? Leavenworth City Council needs to approve and authorize the mayor to execute professional services with RH2 maintain for the water transmission main replacement. Well site to Mill Street project not to exceed the amount of $549,795.
Moved by Marco, seconded by Tibor. Any other questions?
Okay, all those in favor, let me see your hand.
It passed. All right, we're ready for some reports. Here. Some report.
No.
No, it's here. But it's short. I have to do a lot of reporting on it. I went to prepare me for my wildfire workshop. On August 17th, the Osborne Playground and two of those on here, August 17th and September 7th. And we are looking, we'll test up against some deadlines to get things both done by the end of summer. So we've got company that we're looking at equipment for different age groups like from 2 to 5 and from 5 to 12, and then some things for seniors to be able to kind of walk along and hold on to and stuff like that. And the little kids would be able to do that. Well, everything, all of them would do that. And just kind of looking at what we see over there. I wanted to make sure that we had swing sets because most of the high school kids or junior high kids that are over there late at night are swinging on swings and looking for equipment that can be easily torn up. And so anyway, we're in that deep into that process. Attended the mosquito board, and the Chelan Douglas Health Department, Chelan Douglas Health Department. This year was an unusual year for more mosquitoes. And, so they, Jenny Mullins, who's the manager there, has been busy with her crew going off mosquitoes. And Chelan Douglas Health District is still kind of not pushing, but suggesting, I recommend that folks get the shots that they need for different foods, whatever, are out there. On 24th, I attended the barbecue and was happy that I didn't have to be by the mouse the whole time. Time before, we went half-an-hour shifts, 12 days by Susan. And then the Royal Lady lunch that I mentioned, out at the golf course. And September 4th was the last day for the pool. I think we had a great year. We have 2 water aerobics classes, so we've got lots of folks, women and men alike, working out. And we have some adults working this year amongst them. This is Gloria, Debbie, and learning how to teach swimming lessons. It was just a really, really interesting, cool year. We actually had a staff. And that was due to the fact that we became well. And you know, there we had the Upper Valley Historical Society meeting, and that pretty well handled that. So with that, I will bid adieu to my report.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Jason.
Yeah, the wildfire workshop was really good. I really appreciate pulling all those people together. Fortunately, we battled wildfire. That would never have happened in August. So maybe that's a blessing. It is a blessing. For my day job, I participated in the recreation ambassador program through the chamber on the 26th and 27th. It's a great program. I fully endorse it. A lot of people don't come up and talk. I'd say 99% of the people don't come up and ask you about the river and what to do, but clearly there are people that need you because some people don't understand that rivers only flow one direction. I actually heard one person come up to me and ask if the river would go back around. And I paused for a minute to see if they were kidding, and they were not. So that person, we might have saved their life. But we aren't with them the next day. What's in store for them? Depends where you start. I should, anyway, it's a really cool program. You know, it's not gonna solve all the problems. I don't think it ever thought it would, but I think it's a really worthwhile program. Just a lot of wayfinding. You know, when you get popped into a little town, you know, we have steep mountains and a lot of landmarks, but we have two rivers that come together. And so, yeah, I really like that program. The community picnic was awesome. And, you know, we council people got a lot of thank yous and good jobs, but man, I was blown away. I know how much work goes into that whole setup. I didn't help with that one bit, but what was really
Take
cool,
credit, come on.
all the staff that were there were super positive, which is amazing because it was after hours, it was late, they had hours of cleanup after we went home and toasted each other for doing a good job. Yeah, community picnic is awesome, and a shout out to Mia Brett's because that was her idea, like, what 5 years ago. Yeah, and I had another thing that I forgot. So
That's it. Yeah.
I also attended the wildfire preparedness workshop. It was pretty awesome. I know Jason already touched up on this earlier today, but I thought that Commissioner Frank's checklist for the city was something we should definitely keep in the forefront and really start working on checking off some of those items because those are some really hot button issues that I think that we need to address for preparedness. I attended the Lake Transit Board meeting on August 15th. Most of you know, roundabout is very much under control. Here in town. Hopefully we can, yeah, we've done a handful more weeks. But they're moving pretty quickly over there. It's pretty impressive how quickly that roundabout's being started.
after a couple
He says it only took about 8 weeks. Yeah, they're getting ruthlessly efficient with the construction of these roundabouts now.
Yeah.
Be nice when that construction's all done. And just to bring it back into the foreground for the city, we do need to eventually have a discussion on what's going in the middle of that roundabout. That's our responsibility, and the center placement of the art feature in the North Wenatchee roundabout was recently. You guys have seen it, it's a big tree.
Thanks for bringing that up.
The just on that note, the Rotary has their service signs. And they have a new one under construction right now. They offered, hey, could we put the service sign in the middle of the roundabout? My reply to Mike was that I think there was supposed to be more of a gateway sort of thing. People might have been envisioning with something more like an art piece. It's going to be a community discussion. One thing that I think we need to do is watch traffic patterns through there, because it could very well be that semis and RVs are running over it.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to be cautious about what we put it
Where
there.
are we placed?
I think there has some.
We need a couple made, we need like to, yeah, say that. So if we're gonna use logic tax, we're gonna use keep there. Yeah, the same. Not a road sign.
Very
Sorry.
Could it be a salmon inlaid or hose?
Yeah.
Fisherman, later on, I don't care.
I didn't mention it to start us.
I'm not saying-
Anyway, you were.
We have not budgeted it, I will say that.
It is not, we don't need to make a list of ideas right now, but I just wanted to mention that the one in North Wenatchee is in, and that's something that we're ultimately gonna be.
And do they have an idea of when they want us to make a decision?
No, that's a.
So it'll just kind of stay blank and empty until we.
Until we fill it.
Yep.
It's gonna be dirt patch for a while,
Okay.
but it'll be plumbed for us if we
Yes.
want to
put something in that's irrigated.
Yeah.
Maybe water.
And electrical as well, right?
Yeah.
Electrical, covered all bases.
Cool.
About.
No, not at all. No.
Pardon me? Well,
Yes.
So,
Right.
So,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but the very center place where we're going to do some sort of installation. The roundabout outside of that center was already engineered for semi use, so the semis are gonna drive right through the middle of it.
Yeah, the centerpiece is.
No, I'm not worried
about that. I prefer that. That would be semi, you know, are a lot longer than others.
One in North County actually is double lane, because they have lots of room down there.
I'm sure it's designed to a washed out spec.
Yeah.
Department of Transportation specification, they have to.
And it
Yeah,
has-
it's on a state highway.
It's a lot like the one by the Mills.
Yeah.
Driveway,
Yeah.
you know, semis can hold them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, centerpiece.
It's like a little curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
They're not-
Basically what they are, it's a roller.
And they're already driving through there right now, all the cones, so.
Hmm.
I also really enjoyed serving at the city barbecue on the 24th. That was a lot of fun. It was amazing to see hundreds of community members come out. It's fun to have conversations with people online. And I too was very impressed with all the works and city hall staff that really helped make that possible. Everybody seemed to be in such a good spirits working a handful of extra hours that day, so it's great.
I think Sue was one of those people back in my childhood who had sticks on their feet and hands and had plates circulating.
Juggling
Yeah. Keep all those
Yeah.
places spinning. All right. See?
Okay, so. Yeah, the city barbecue, I'm trying to come close to what Eric said, and just ditto all that, it's a great community event. And I'm just glad we got it going. Yeah, got it back, it's just a real powerful thing for us, city council members and work with the staff, our work, and it's just, I really look forward to it every year. It's a really very cool thing. Be glad as a city and community to do that. It's just a lot of good things coming from that. And I did do my service at the bouncy house, and I enjoyed that. So,
We're signing up for next year.
I'm good. On each side, Sharon. Well,
It might be the bouncy house deflation policy, Marco.
Yeah.
I got a lot of help. Wildfire workshop, I think that was a great start. I just did everything is that, and that we get that started earlier next year. June, May or June, get the players in place. It's a hard thing to pull off, the stuff you did a great job making it happen like you did. It was pretty viable. I don't know how to get more people here. Just don't know what it takes, unless you gotta have a going fire. Some other places burning down, and then they think about it, but anyway, it's still a great idea, essential. Something we should do annually. It's up the calendar schedule is one part, but it's really important, this was that. I attended Loose the Lodge, whatever you wanna call it, Saturday. I didn't bring my earplugs, which I had, but it's a great event. Place was covered with people, all young families. I knew about 6. But there was lots of them, so it was a great event, really was. They did all right with that.
750 right now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a good time. Yeah, the planning commission has pretty much come close to wrapping up the density issue with the bed and breakfast. There's the one issue of, which I think is really important one that was thrashed over quite a bit. And that is when a bed and breakfast is sold, that the license does not go with the sale. They have to reapply.
Correct.
And,
That's already true, I think.
no, well, there was a question there, you Lilith, that wasn't gonna be applied for 10 years.
Okay, so I don't know all the details, because I came in on that a little late, so I'm sharing that
Yeah,
there.
I think that they changed it to 2 years. Lois is still with us.
I thought mine that I got, my CP said that it didn't transfer with them.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. But
Right.
10 years, they were gonna wait 10 years before.
They
Those
did
that
their
are
old
older,
ones, though. That's good.
Yeah, here's Lois.
Oh.
You guys are beating me to my punch.
Yeah, we'll let you take it then.
Got to unmute
I'll wait
faster.
till you get there, that's fine. So, anyway, that was my essential, my.
All right, okay.
I'll just leave, I'll pick up where people thought that I employed the help of a lot of enthusiastic young children to help people with the bouncing of us. They did a great job, somebody was suffocated, as a matter of fact, one little girl last thing was suffocated. Show, I just.
You didn't show her?
Oh, experienced it.
Somebody did it, taking a movie picture, all that. That was going on.
It was pretty exciting. I love those kids. So. And I did attend the Elders for the Lodge. It was a great community event on the steel to raise money for the back. And the later life show was pretty impressive and some young people. It was a whole band from Wenatchee. I went down the river with the Chelan County Sheriffs and we picked up 60, 70 pounds of flash. So we did golf balls, mostly cans and flash, like cell phones, couple cell phones, sunglasses, junk, clothing. So that was good way to stuff. But that was great work for those guys because we haven't had as many problems this year. So we did a lot of rescue with stuff places that was still alive. That was actually good. The Prescribed Burn Association, SKA Prescribed Burn Association, just received some money, part of a $250,000 prescribed burn, with a plan, with resources, on the regular. Find resilience, so people profit, as they call it, with road managers under the right conditions to make that area. So, and more. Right.
I also was at the barbecue. The one thing nobody mentioned was the burgers one. And what was interesting is a lot of people, well, how much is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's right now. Like, what? I'm trying to get up there. And so this girl came up and she said, I would really like to have a burger, but I have my.
Oh, well, you're out of luck there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I have a little IOU slip.
You want to?
Yeah, well, that was, Mark was saying, come back now, but we got lost. Come back.
We did, whoever supplied us.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
I did attend last month. Actually, Floyd covered just about everything, except the one thing he didn't cover was in the tracking that they do, the length of stay went down. The foot traffic went. Length of stay that they track through the most of it's through the cell phone guidance system, go in and out. But length of stay went down 7%. That's translate to revenue? It can, yeah, because if, so, I mean, they weren't worried about it, but it was interesting. They hadn't seen such a. And they have a way of tracking, so if you're an employee, you go in X amount of times in the week, that gets kicked back, either offender or employee. Yeah.
Like my kids going down to the sweet candy shop and get picked out.
Yeah, maybe for in hotels that the length of stay drop. That's an interesting tracking. Yeah, Big Brother's watching.
How they are.
Right. Well, just a couple of announcements. Again, the PRSA or feasibility public forum next Tuesday, 6 o'clock at the Fest Halls. We'll hear the whole planning. Be there and spread the word, and we're getting it out on our social media.
Went out last time.
Yep. And so, again, just that kind of final report. This will have include the S6. Yeah. 6 o'clock, and it'll include the new option for
The sprung structure.
this, yeah. The cheaper version. This is not the cat. It'll have just a.
Taj Mahal.
Not the Taj Mahal. Well, the Taj Mahal's still there, but they'll have another. And then also our final city surplus garage sale on Thursday of next week, the 21st, from 4 to 7 at Osborne. So last chance to clean out the city. Selby.
The block party went by like in a blur for me. As you know, as you probably saw, I was presenting the idea of moving the library to a partially demolished Osborne. Partially demolished and newly renovated Osborne. I want to dispel the myth that we're just going to move them into what's there. It would be a renovated structure made safe before that would even happen. Which could also include a commercial kitchen, community space, including the gym. Feedback was overwhelmingly favorable. There are a couple people that are concerned mainly about the condition of the building. Saying it had been an unsafe building, and that's why the school chose not to renovate it. But if we choose to move forward and explore additional feasibility, that would obviously be looked into. And we wouldn't do this project if we couldn't make it safe. And we will be discussing this project at your next study session, along with the space needs assessment that led us to this idea. We received over a dozen applications for the communications and special projects manager position. And we wrapped up our first round of interviews today. We touched base with 8 candidates. And we'll be narrowing that down into a second round and interviewing them in a couple of months. It'll be the end of September, couple of weeks, at the end of September, beginning of October, looking at schedules. This is Christie's job. The PRSA meets tomorrow, right? And then there's the public forum on the feasibility study next Tuesday. A river recreation management report is underway and in draft form after several meetings with various stakeholders. The study is being funded equally by the city of Leavenworth and Chelan County lodging tax dollars. Part of the project was meeting with a link to see if they could operate a river shuttle, but they indicated that that would not be possible, at least through 24. The report will be circulated to council and made available to the public when complete. Last week, I met with a local contract grant writer, thank you, Marco, who works with Cascade Medical. And Tom and I have been working with Jennifer Goodridge on an RCO grant for pool maintenance, which is due Monday. Leavenworth grant fund applications are in, or Leavenworth fund grant applications are in, and the committee's meeting next Monday night to begin review and ranking of those applications. The parking study is well underway. Data collectors were here August 10th and 12th. They've begun a pro forma for a garage as part of garage feasibility, as part of the garage feasibility study. It's not as cheap as actually, let me say, it's more expensive than I realized by a factor. It's more expensive than I realized by a factor of 3. I also applied for a $10,000 grant from the Chelan Douglas Port Authority to apply towards the parking feasibility study. They said they were going to review those today, but I didn't get news before this meeting whether or not we were awarded that. Downtown Steering Committee met on August 22nd. None of you guys met that one or mentioned that one. There we discussed automatic bollards, and we would like to move on that sooner rather than later. Maybe as early as the spring if we can get our ducks in a row. Also discussed was the idea of relocating the maypole, which is one of the design options that MXM introduced as part of that study, and it was decided to leave the maypole right where it is. And we talked about formula retail controls, which is an idea from the chamber of basically putting a limit on the number of chains you can have in the community. And we also talked about the Front Street restrooms, the Front Street restroom project, which is progressing. And the last update, our first ever all-staff professional development day will be taking place at Icicle Village Resorts on Thursday, September 20th.
Thanks, Sally.
Yeah.
Back downstairs to get right on the list.
I tell.
Andrea. You bought the website. Andrea's gonna pull up something I'm excited to show you guys. So about 6 or 7 years ago, the council had this great idea for our budget document to go digital. Over the years, I've contemplated it, I've explored it. Previous administrator Joel Walensky and myself looked at multiple companies, turned them down. The price factor, the return on investment just never was there. So last year, after turnover of several city administrators and a lot of changing in priorities in my position, I said, this is a goal. And this is a goal for me before I retire, which is coming, you guys, about 7 years out. So that's only 3 more budgets for me. So I took on the attempt of going for the digital budget book. This is actually a PDF version of it. I don't think I can control it.
No. Which one did you want?
The website version. Yeah, okay. I'll go ahead and
You
do
go
that.
ahead. You got it.
Cool. All right. It's not live yet. Well, it is actually live, but I'm not going to tell anybody where it's hiding right at the moment because I still have a few things I want to clean up on it. But everything that's in this is currently the 2023 budget that you already adopted, that I already developed, and I put it in Word and put it out on the website, and it's out there for anyone to download. So now it's going digital though, and digital, what that means is you can go through each piece, and then in this one, you've got the introduction, which is that transmittal letter from the mayor. And then it goes into a variety of other pages about the mayor and the council, your mission, vision, and values. I got a couple pictures. I'm going to make it better, but right now this is just getting it going. We got a little bit of history. You might like this demo tab when you see it. This is actually generated from a US Census Bureau website. So we don't manipulate this data. This is actually grabbed by the company that developed this software for us. And so it will be outdated. We can always choose to take this off if we think that it's not the appropriate thing we want people to see, because it could be a couple years behind what we know is happening. But there's a lot of stuff in there that once it goes live, I want you guys to take a look at and give me some feedback on. Got other things like our org charts, the basis of budgeting, the fund structure. Oh, I can't. Can I go smaller? There we go. Yeah. There we go. Basis of budgeting, fund structure, the budget calendar, the financial policy. Can't slide down. Anyway, you get the picture. There's a lot of things under just this tab. Under the budget overview tab, you've got a lot of write-ups that go into details of, for instance, the executive and finance. And it just talks about, it's all the language that's in our current document, but now it's here digital that people can look at it. Under fund summaries, and this is where it really gets cool, and it's going to get even cooler as I learn how to use the system and I can develop more tools within it. For instance, when someone hovers on a certain revenue, they'll be able to identify what that revenue pays for directly. I program it. So for instance, property tax. What does my property tax pay for? I can say 70% of it is your sheriff contract. 10% of it is your fire contract. You know, I can break those details down, and that's what people will actually see when they go into these details.
Check out those tools because they could create trends, like it showed the trend in population, but all the others.
Okay, so you've got all fund summary combined. You have every single fund. You can click into each one individually. You get a write-up that I've described the fund, and then you start getting charts and graphs of historical data. And when I built it, I only went back to 2020 so far. But as time goes on, I can have 10 years of history showing if I want to. But there's some pretty cool stuff. This is all line by line detail. Only nerdies like myself really like to look at the line by line detail. But for instance, like this graph, for those of you who like bar charts, cool stuff, right? But maybe you're the person who likes it in a pie chart. So you can switch and toggle things. You can click on it and isolate it and see more details over time. Okay. I did include the capital improvements. At this time, all I included is the 6-year capital improvement plan. and the transportation plan. I gave a little write-up for it, but these are the actual documents that you can only see when you're in this digital version. For debt, I provided, a little write-up about existing debt. But then I did attach the debt schedule. So you can always click in, and I will keep these types of items updated every time we do updates to them.
Is this a template that other people use?
It's a software product
Yeah.
called ClearGov.
ClearGov, yes. And this link right here, you can see it's powered by ClearGov. When it's on our site and you click on it, it actually takes you to a ClearGov platform. So all of this is housed on their servers, not ours. One last cool feature, you can push this print button. It opens a window, you put in your email, you get an instant email response that says they've received your request. And then I did it, it took 2 minutes for it to email me this 168-page digital budget book, which is all of that stuff put in order. You've got the document, you've got a table of contents. I move things around, it automatically updates all of this for me. All those charts and graphs automatically are input based on the numbers that have been uploaded. This literally takes me minutes to give them the data now that the structure is built, and they just upload. So it'll be live soon. I'm very, very close with it, but wanted to give you that sneak preview. Just wanted to let you know in your packet, you are seeing the July finance report. This is out of ordinary because normally you would have had this at your last meeting in August, but we canceled it. So you will have your August report at your next meeting. And the last but not least, good news. I just received this week an email from our auditors looking like an absolute clean audit. He's working on filing the federal paperwork. I had to create the account today. So I anticipate we'll be scheduling that exit interview with you guys soon.
Oh, great update.
Oh, and I didn't say it, but I should have. Part of my goal with this digital budget book is to get the most prestigious award for budgets that you can get in our nation from the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA. And this ClearGov platform is one of the platforms of just a couple that actually puts people in the position to receive that award based on its design, its functionality, its ease of use, and the data that's also input. So that is my goal at the end, is to get us that GFOA budget award. And of course, we'll apply for it over and over again once we have it. And we can keep it. Get a little plaque.
Yeah.
The plaque wall. The plaque wall.
Tom? Thank you, Mayor, council members. Good evening. First, just let me know if you have any questions on the public works report from August. It's on tab 14. I do have a couple updates I want to share. It's been a little while, so I apologize. I'll go fast. Shout out to one of our wastewater treatment plant operators, Austin Smith, for recently passing his wastewater treatment plant operator 1 exam. That's great news. Shout out to John Shawns for leading the neighborhood playground committee effort. The committee is making good progress on developing 2 playground design alternatives for the Osborne playground replacement. I want to give a shout out to Andy Zontek-Baxter for managing multiple active, diverse, and much needed projects. There's a lot going on right now, and she's got a lot on her plate, but she's doing great. Shout out to Rick Emmons and his utility division crew for repairing 2 recent water leaks. One was on Birch Street and the other popped up just yesterday on Pine Street. I do want to make a note here. The Pine Street water leak was associated with a very deteriorating 600-foot section of water main. It's from Burke Avenue to First Street. The repair that they made was on additional repairs they've already made. So they exposed the pipe. There were 6 repairs already on the pipe, several boiler plugs, 2 repair vans, and they actually spliced in a piece of pipe a long time ago. That's only one section. You go along Pine Street from Burke to Fur and you see these just asphalt patches, and they're all associated with water leaks.
What's the material of that pipe?
Steel.
It's all steel.
Yeah, it's all
Big
old.
iron.
Yeah, it's steel. Yeah, it's just the fabric wrap steel that was put in a long time ago.
Okay.
40s and 50s.
Why is that happening? That's a new speed.
No,
No,
old
this is
section of
old
pine
section.
from
Oh,
Burke to
okay.
Fur. Yeah. So yes, correct. So we're going to elevate this. In fact, we're getting procuring a supplemental agreement RH2 to see what it would take to design a water main replacement and to see if we could fit it into our budget. So more to come on that. Brian Dazenbrock starts Monday, the 18th. Brian is our new utility maintenance worker position. So starting Monday, we'll be fully staffed, Public Works again. So that's good news. In other news, we successfully secured a backup generator grant through FEMA. This was a $262,000 grant. City share is $87,000, so it's a $350,000 project. And so what this grant will do is it'll fund backup generators for our water system. We currently only have one backup generator, and that's our well field, and it does not run all 3 wells. It only runs 2. But the critical need are the booster stations and the water plant. The water plant houses our SCADA brain, so when the power goes out, we're blind. We have to operate our system manually. So once those generators are in, we could status quo with or without power.
Will those generators bring 100% capacity?
100% capacity with power outage.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's great for fire. Wow,
For sure.
And diesel, but
There would likely, yes, there's no natural gas here.
Okay,
We work
yeah,
with them,
that's
but- okay. Quick project updates. There's a lot going on right now. Councilmember Hesberg already touched on the high school roundabout, but Ski Hill Sidewalk project is underway. They're replacing water services as we speak. More water leaks on that main line. City Hall exterior painting project, as you can see, is underway. There's a few weeks out on that. The lining project associated with our wastewater collection system is well underway. Going to be wrapping up soon. The focus on the downtown, which was a very critical piece, should occur in the first part of October. That will occur at night, and there will be bypass sewer plans for individual businesses, courtesy of the contractor, at no additional cost, by the way. Councilmember Lack mentioned this earlier, but we are well underway with our emergency hydrant replacement. The hydrant replacements on Alpenseestrasse, to no surprise, were provided us with great challenges. Contractor hit a service line and went to shut the main off, and our main line valves did not close all the way. So we added an isolation valve. So good news is we're making the system better. Definitely lessons learned. Bottom line is we need to exercise our water valves. We haven't done that since time.
yeah,
And last but not least, we secured for projects anyway, we selected HCR to do our full-blown utility rate study. We'll get a professional service agreement in front of council here in the next meeting or 2. Few more updates. New equipment, 2 new plow trucks that we purchased last year. We had an initial anticipated delivery date of March 24. They're out an additional 6 months. So we're not going to get our 2 new plow trucks until September of 24. This is due to just general procurement delays. What's that? Yeah. The sweeper anticipate delivery March 24. We do that, and then the Vector is still on schedule for February 24. 2 more updates. We're partnering with DOT to construct a salt shed at their Leavenworth facility. So once completed, we don't have to go up to Blewett or Eva's, which is halfway up to Stevens Pass, to get salt. And seeing that our plow trucks are stored outside, we can actually store the plow trucks without salt in them. And then when there's a snow event, we just go take 15 minutes, put salt in, and then we're able to deploy salt. Because right now when the salt sits for more than a day or 2, it becomes hard, and you roll the dice whether to put salt on or not.
thank you, that's a great solution. Does that include sand as well?
No, with just salt.
Okay, what's the dance?
So we don't have a reliable sand supply. Chelan County has a little bit of sand out at their facility out, County Shop Road. And they don't. They did at one point, but it's kind of emergencies only.
Okay.
All right, no problem. Last update, I promise. Just an update on waste management for everyone that has waste management trash service in town effective October 1. They're taking advantage of their contract by instilling the 3.25% COLA. Just to put in perspective, a weekly residential 96-gallon tote will go from $35.26 a month to $36.40 a month. That's my report. Thank you.
Good question. With the Ski Hill project, the sidewalk project, are you getting surprised on people that all of a sudden the sidewalks kind of in what they presumed was their yards?
No, we did extensive outreach before that project because there was a number of areas where we needed to acquire right away, and plus we just wanted to for outreach purposes. So knock on wood, it's been very good in terms of outreach.
Hey, Lella?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, council members. As was mentioned earlier, the planning commission held their hearing on the bed and breakfast regulations. It'll be on your consent agenda to make a public hearing for your October 10th meeting to address that recommendation. Staff has concerns with some of that recommendation, so I will be working on the transmittal memo and reviewing it with the attorney before I forward it on to you. But they did accept all the changes in the draft and made 2 recommendations to remove a time provision which would have allowed for individual bed and breakfast operators to sell their home, transfer ownership within the next 2 to 10 years without losing their vested conditional use permit. The planning commission wanted that to be effective immediately. Well, that's one of the ones we'll be kind of walking through. And one other minor modification. I do want to let the city council know that the Leavenworth Meadows project has been modified. The cost of construction is coming in higher than anticipated. Of course, they have a lot of soil work there too. They didn't disclose that that was an issue, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a contributing factor. They will be requesting to modify their SEPA document and proposed layout from 300 apartments and including several townhomes. It'll be changed to 368 units to help cover the cost, and 20 of those will be townhomes instead of the larger amount of townhomes. So they're still going to have some townhomes, and that is new for their portfolio. They don't have anything like that in their portfolio across the United States. So we're glad that they're going to try them out with us. I think it provides additional renting opportunities that are more limited in our community. So we'll be doing a revised SEPA. It's called a addendum to their existing SEPA. And we will be re-examining the traffic pattern and impact and seeing if there is need for additional mitigation. So do know that that's going to be occurring. And there are several projects around the Link Park and Ride behind Safeway, and they have all received grading permits, and some of them are on the verge of getting their site development permit, which means they can actually start digging deeper for utility lines. And that includes the items that Sharon had mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the bouldering gym. There's a spa facility back there. They want to put in 6 pools, hot tubs, and 2 saunas, 2 buildings that contain changing rooms and guest services. And then also, of course, the hotel is over there. This project also includes the construction of a road, which will be dedicated to the city. We would like that road to be extended further and built out in its entirety. And we are anticipating a short plat to come in hopefully this year that could finish that road out with the next development. But right now it's just a couple 100 feet into the development. So lots going on, lots of changes. And that's all I have to share at this time.
Thank you. Lilith, is the Quinta going to have a pool? No.
I don't recall seeing that. I could double check and see if it would be an indoor. Yeah, it might be on the indoor on the main floor. I'll have to double check the site plan.
Yeah, because I know the one that she did. What is this about the hot tubs? I'm not following that.
Oh, it's called The Springs, and they want to create kind of this natural area where people can go, and instead of a swimming pool, it's a large commercial hot tub, and there'll be 6 of them, and they'll have lots of landscaping around them. They'll have a fireplace area, just a place to kick back and relax and visit with people.
Artificial hot springs.
It's kind of an artificial hot.
Yes, outdoors.
Who's putting that in, or are you allowed to say?
Oh, yeah, the gentleman I've been working with is Vincent LaBelle, and he has a few people on his team.
Okay, and then the bouldering gym, who's that?
Matt Schilling and Andrew. Can't think of his last name right now. They're locals and they're working on a bouldering gym. They've partnered up with somebody who's done a few bouldering gyms in the past. Kudos to them. They are planning on doing a large timber building, which is a very expensive Bavarian style of construction. So should be gorgeous. We just got the plans in. I haven't reviewed them. They came in just got in the system yesterday or today.
So all separate things, not one big random thing. Okay. Thank you.
All right, we are ready to go into an executive session under RCW 4230-110-1G, property selection, site or acquisition. I would entertain a motion to recess for 30 minutes.
Right.
Oh,
Second.
all in favor? All in favor? Okay, we will go into executive session.
Now that means you gotta go.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be recording.
We don't need to. Recording, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Second moved. Zeke seconded. All those in favor, let me see your hands. And we're done.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Lois.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
No. I thought it was a bill per services.